right. Hi, I'm Sparks Woody. It's time for the Fake Nerd Podcast, episode 307, Little Nemo and the Adventures in the Strange World. We're all here together to have another wonderful conversation, just the four of us, and it's me and Ryan Eliopoulos drinking
nothing.
Imaginary liquid.
I'm drinking strange brew. Look at that. I'll be Mountain Dew.
Brandon T. McClure, of course.
Hello. Hi, I'm here as well.
And it wouldn't be a show without Ben Magnet, so he's here too.
Yep, I'm here, although I think I forgot something in Silverland. I'm going to have to pick that up later.
No, wake up.
Ben.
What?
Wake up. All right, guys. Hi, everyone. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Not so much you guys, but the audience. But I also do hope you guys had a wonderful
Thanksgiving, Brandon.
You know what? I did.
I had a lovely food day.
I saw your spread. I a little inside baseball. I saw
Too much.
We definitely had one, maybe two too many sides.
Oh my god, that fridge is too full. I had turkey for like 3 days straight, and I want to die. It's good. It's the worst feelings to have.
Sure. Yeah. I'm personally, I never liked Thanksgiving, and I'm grateful that this one is over. Specifically,
personally, if the holiday isn't called Christmas, Brandon thinks that it should die in a fire.
Yeah.
So,
I don't like Christmas either.
That's not what I heard.
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not
I used
true.
to.
You literally just pulled out a Christmas candy to eat.
I used to like Christmas a lot. I used to be really into Christmas. I don't know why we're talking about this. Whatever. We have a short episode today, so we get to vamp a little. I used to really like Christmas. And then I realized, my Christmases have genuinely sucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, you know what? All holidays are just inconvenient messes right now. That said, I like celebrating with you guys for our holiday annuals.
Well, there you go.
There
See,
you
we
go.
don't technically need a holiday to do that. We can just put episodes out. Just say, hey, here's something we could do.
Here's a celebration.
Here's a celebration, a Star Wars celebration. Life Day.
Every day with you guys is a celebration.
Every kiss begins with K.
He went to Jared. That's not right.
No, that's right. That's right. That's
no,
right.
I know, but it doesnn't work. Okay. Anyway, yes. So I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for coming back. Kind of good news, bad news situation here. This is one of the final episodes of the mainline podcast. Now, that is not saying we're going away. Obviously, if you longtime listeners will know that even during the holiday season, when we are technically when this show is on a hiatus, we still like to put out some stuff.
I want to clarify real quick. Brandon said final episodes of the mainline podcast and did not say of the year.
Of the year. Of the year. Thank you. Look, I just had a 6-hour drive from Monterey to LA today, so there you go.
And I feel you. Hate it.
Right. So, yes, of the year. There may be a final episode just before the hiatus. There may not be for the year. It's kind of playing a lot of it by ear. If you haven't noticed, audience, like this year has not been a great one for the podcast, for us personally, and we are just kind of eager for it to be over. I also have a vacation that is becoming more and more inconvenient as the year goes on. But that said, we have plenty of stuff lined up for you guys that we are excited to do. So, while we kind of like kick off the end of the year, we hope that you will enjoy a lot of it. We hope that we can't wait for it. So there you go.
Brandon says inconvenient, but I don't know how inconvenient he felt when he sent us all the memo that he's like, I'm not upset. I'm simply skipping Christmas. I will not say bah humbug if you wish me a Merry Christmas on the podcast.
Did you just Christmas with the cranks me?
Yeah, I did.
I can't be a part of this.
You bitch.
You can't just throw Tim Allen in my face without telling me first. Okay? I don't like it.
Is it
You can't just throw Tim Allen at me without warning.
But he can't throw Jamie Lee Curtis at you, though, right?
Oh, I love Jamie Lee. No, it balances out then. We're fine. Wait, is Danny DeVito in that movie?
No, Dan Aykroyd is.
Dan Aykroyd is who you're thinking.
Nah, not as good.
Danny DeVito's in the one where him and Matthew Broderick are fighting over Christmas lights
That's the
because he
Halls.
wants
That's
that
a
one.
movie.
Yeah, that's the one. I want my house to be seen from space.
That is a weird one because like
I've never seen it.
None of the family supports either of them.
Oh, yeah?
Like it's just so clear that like the wives, the kids, from like square one, nobody's on board.
Oh yeah, that's a true Christmas movie then.
Isn't it just?
It's honestly kind of about how like these two families are kind of happen to be in each other's circles because of their feud and are like, hey, you guys want to do like these nice things for Christmas? And their things are ruining their Christmas.
Is it good?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
I'll give it a shot for DeVito though. For sure.
It's about as good as Christmas with the Cranks. What'd you say, Spark? Sorry.
I said you could have gotten better out of both of them, DeVito and Broderick.
Yeah.
Cash money.
Anyway, yes, oh, what a vacation.
That was a tangent.
Anyway.
Kristen Chenoweth plays DeVito's wife, which is interesting.
Yes.
That's a marriage I would watch. Okay, you're selling me on this movie.
Danny DeVito is in no, Matthew Broderick is in the skin tight skater suit.
Yes.
That's not as fun. If you said Danny DeVito in a skin tight suit, I'm like, I'll watch that.
Anyway, so that said, again, we've got a lot of stuff. We do have stuff in the pipeline, but again, we just kind of want to get out of the year unscathed. But happy Thanksgiving, going into December. But we have stuff in the description for you guys to check out if you want. I will start with mine actually because Ben has a lot. So
What?
there's two articles for me for Screen Rant. A list ranking the top 10 on Letterboxd stop motion films that I was actually really happy to write. It was very what's the word?
Easy.
The word. No. Well, it was. But when unexpected.
There you go.
Because some of the entries up on that were the number one especially like shocked me, and I really like it when it's the unexpected ones, because sometimes when I'm just like, oh well, this is definitely going to be this way and this way and this way, well then it's it's whatever, it's kind of whatever. But the unexpected ones are more fun for me, and I that's what this one was, so I enjoyed that.
So you're telling me Nightmare Before Christmas isn't number one?
That's true.
That's cool.
And Kubo and the Two Strings is on that list. Made me very happy.
Good.
Because I love that movie. And then the other one is 10 holiday movies and a show. I snuck in a show coming out this year that people should check out. I found some pretty cool ones. There's this horror film coming to Shudder where the robotic Santa Claus is goes on a murderous rampage in a small town. I thought that one looked kind of fun. Obviously, Violent Night is on there. The Santa Clauses. You check that one out if you want.
A robot murder. Did you just take the Santa Claus from Futurama and turn him into a movie?
Oh, that's hell yeah.
I guess so.
I love
but
that.
Set in the present.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool.
Ben.
Yeah?
You're a busy boy.
I guess I am. Oh, shit. You're right. I do have a lot of stuff in here today.
You did not have a podcast episode of The End Dark this week.
No, we took a week off for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. But you were on a show called The Leadus Podcast.
I was, yes. So the Leadus Podcast is a very cool podcast where it's a game show where they talk about games through a game show, essentially. Where it's a trivia show, but they create different types of games for this game show, and it was really fun. I had an absolute blast doing it.
Very cool. So that's linked below. As well as two Basement Arcade Pause menus, not two different episodes, one video and one audio. You can find both of them linked below, depending on what your fancy is. That one is Portland Retro Gaming Expo with Donnie G Retro, correct?
Yep, that's just the two of us talking about his second experience, my first experience at Portland at PRGE, which happened last October, which feels like so long ago now, to be honest. But yeah, we just like go through. We talk about the convention, talk about other conventions we've gone to, and it's definitely if you've never been to PRG before, but you want to have like a sense of what it's like, definitely check out that episode. If you have, but you missed out this year, definitely give it a listen. See what things they changed. See how it was different from years past. Because I know when I was talking to him, even though this was only his second time at the convention, this wasn't the convention itself wasn't always in the Oregon Convention Center, which is their big giant convention center in the city of Portland. It used to be held in like a Holiday Inn convention center in like a small hotel area. And then it just got so big, they moved it and they were able to find space for it at the convention center. So
A lot of cons start that way. They start in hotels because they don't have 1,000 people. They got 14 people, right? And then it slowly just builds and builds until they can afford the bigger convention center. And it's cool. It's always cool to see those things branch out and get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book I saw at the my comic book store that I shop at, and apparently they recently. Not the comic book store, but someone has published a book like detailing the early history of Comic-Con, how it started, like Ryan said, in a small hotel lobby, conference room, and then ballooned into what it is now.
I'm sorry, just like talking about comic books about things made me think of this, and I don't know where else I would mention this. I got advertised to me because I was making like wish list stuff for people on Amazon, a new Steve Martin book. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I'd like to add that to my list for later, but I'd like to get the audiobook version because I like to hear Steve Martin actually say it.
Yeah.
And so I was going to go do that. And it had no audiobook version. I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, why is it like this? And also I was like, why was this recommended to me when I was looking at comics? Steve Martin has a autobiographical comic book coming out.
Very cool.
Which I'm super stoked about.
Now
that's
an
eye
cool
out there, friends.
That's fun.
That's cool. Man, I just love it when these prolific people, they decide to buck the trend and be like, I'm not going to do a long 10,000 plus word autobiography. I'm going to turn this shit into a comic book. That's going to be way more fun.
You wouldn't expect
it. Is that it? Was there something I missed?
Well, the only thing I want to mention here is because I got my new issue of Fusion Gaming magazine, and the reason why I want to mention this is because where did you go? Shit, here it is. My review of Cult of the Lamb is in it.
What'd you give it?
I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Did you beat it?
Not yet.
Oh, Ben, you should have said yes. Even if it was a lie, you should have said yes.
I'm not the final boss.
No, you did get to the final boss.
Anyway.
I gave the game an 8 out of 10. So yeah, this is up. You can find this on FusionRetrobooks.com. It is issue 37. There you go. Just in case.
Look for the updated review when he beats the game. All right.
And if you
it's still going to stay the same.
If you want to hear Ryan and I give Ben all his best pull quotes for it, you should check out the Pause Menu Quarterly for the third quarter of this year, where we talked a bunch about Cult of the Lamb.
I actually wrote that months ago.
It's so good.
It just now came out.
That's really good. I love it.
All right. That's all the links in the description below. Check them out if you want. We greatly appreciate all that. Who wants to go first with their week?
I will.
Okay.
Do it.
No, you almost never volunteer. Go for it.
Shit. Okay. I didn't do a whole lot this week, media-wise, but there are two big things media-wise that I do want to talk about. And the first one I want to talk about has to deal with this boy down here who sent me a link to a video, or he sent me a screenshot. Now, this video is essentially a 2-hour documentary film about a certain sound from a video game called Roblox. You may have heard of it. If you haven't, it's the oof sound, the something like that. So for about 30 minutes, it's about like how they got the sound and where it came from and how it's a big thing. And then the rest of it turns into an 1.5-hour deep dive into the utter lies of one Tommy Tallarico. And holy shit.
It's a good video, ain't it?
That is a film, my guy. That is.
I watch so much of YouTube. Like there are just so many. They're just filmmakers on YouTube. Like it's unfair to call them YouTubers anymore because the amount of effort. Like H Bomber Guy, the video you're talking about, he makes like 2 videos a year, and they're each 1 to 3 hours long, and they're just the most in-depth, like most meticulously made things you will ever watch. I'm just like it's incredible what you can do on YouTube.
I'm not gonna lie. It did take me a little bit because it took me a few days because I watched like 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there. But the entire time I'm watching this video, because I knew of Tommy Tallarico because I listened to the CU podcast. I listened to a bunch of other people have mentioned him in the past. And for those of you who do not know, his main claim to fame is that he was a video game composer back in the early 90s. He composed Earthworm Jim. He did the music for it. In today's day and age, he is now known as the former president and CEO of the Intellivision Corporation, And he is also the man responsible, or one of the men responsible, for the Intellivision Amico's complete nosedive into scam territory.
Did we also talk about this on a quarterly?
We talked about it on the quarterly. Yeah,
this is the quarter 2 for this year. Yeah, those quarterlies are really paying off, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But that's it. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, check out the Base Arcade quarterly 2. However, it's not just the fact this man. I knew he was a liar. I knew the man loves to lie a bunch of things. I'm watching this video and I'm sitting there thinking there's got to be some inkling of truth. Some inkling of truth to whatever this man is saying. There's not. Everything, almost everything is a fabrication. Everything is him trying to make himself to be larger than life. And it is absolutely insane. It just like the evidence that H Bomber guy puts on, it's like, this man is a pathological liar. This man has done X, Y, and Z. Like the one time where I thought, okay, cool, he's won a bunch of music awards from this one group. That's awesome. They actually do good work. They put a bunch of music archives online. That's cool. Then, okay, yeah, that's neat. Oh shit, he founded it. He gave himself a pat on the back and gave him all those. He gave himself all those rewards or awards. He gave himself a bunch of
rewards. It's so juicy.
It is.
My favorite thing about that video is like I was the first American to ever work on a Sonic property.
I almost spit out my drink when I saw that, because I was like, seriously, the second he's like, I'm the first American to work on Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm sitting here going, excuse me, sorry, Brandon, language warning, but no, the fuck you did not.
A little E just pops up in the side screen
for a second.
It is insane. It is shocking that someone would get into the positions of power with such moves like that. Could you even imagine if a head of a major company, I don't know, Disney, ever was like a huge liar who didn't do right? I mean, obviously, Tommy Tallarico is like way more pathological, but.
Yeah,
he didn't sink $44 billion into an $18 billion social media account.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Yeah. So for those in the video itself, it's even H Bomber guy is talking about how he wanted to stop diving into these rabbit holes about Tommy. And it went from the Roblox oof where it showed up, because it showed up from another game called Messiah, and it connected it because Tommy was trying to sue the people of Roblox, because according to Tommy, Roblox became popular because of a sound effect, not what actually happened. Roblox was already popular, and this was a fun little sound effect that just happened to be in the game. It's like someone said, I made the Super Mario Brothers coin chime, and the game was popular because of that one coin chime. It's like, no?
He's trying to grasp.
What?
He's an old guy trying to grasp onto any celebrity that he can, and it's just like in this day and age, like when you lie this hard, bro, it's 2022, we can check facts. It's not like in the 80s where like you just have to take people on their word and shit. Like, no, we can look this shit up. We know.
I listened to an interview that he did with another YouTuber. This was back in early 2021, where the Amico was supposed to come out in October of that year. The interview took place, I want to say, in either August or July. And the interviewer wasn't the type of person to be like, he wasn't essentially like trying to give Tommy all the spotlight. He wasn't like praising him the entire time. He was actually asking him hard questions, and Tommy was getting very defensive about it. And then it was past that where Tommy would only go on shows where people would just eat up his lies. They would praise him. And he was the type of person and even on when he was still the CEO of Intellivision, he would only answer back like Facebook posts from people who were praising him. He would not respond back to criticism. He wouldn't answer hard questions. He wouldn't do any of that shit. So, and now that he's out as, I know he's out as CEO. I don't know if he has any involvement with the company of Intellivision at all. The fact that he bought it from the guy who originally owned the brand after he passed away just felt super scummy to me. It's like, wow, you suck.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
Yeah, so that was like the big thing I want to talk about, because Ryan told me about this and we were talking about it when I was at Disneyland a few weeks ago. I was like, man, this is nuts. What's going to happen here? And I did not expect the level of rabbit holes I was falling through that one video.
Yeah, the first 30 minutes are about Roblox, and then it goes, now let's talk about Tommy Tallarico for an hour and a half. And I'm like, I got to tell Ben about this.
Yep.
He's going to love it. Yeah, it's an incredible video.
It is. And the other big media thing I did this week, performance issues be damned. I'm having a blast with Pokemon Scarlet.
Hang on, real quickly about that. Okay, so the thing that I'm seeing a lot of people writing on, the new legendary Pokemon with wheels on its chest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It runs with feet? It's
one
got
of
wheels
them,
on its chest.
the one I
mistake
have
made.
does, yes.
Yeah, they really goofed up on. Hey, we got a motorcycle Pokemon. Let's make him use his legs.
It's got wheels on its chest.
He does. He does.
Yeah. You can make him a
It's-
slide now. Like, what's going on?
The one in Violet, he's an actual motorcycle, but yeah, the one in Scarlet, he's just like, I'm gonna run on my legs because
That's why I'm
ethic.
buying Violet. That's why I'll play Violet. Give me a motorcycle. What are we doing?
It's like going out of your way to buy Heelys and then refusing to ever pop those wheelies.
That's disgusting. You're right. That's awful.
Oh
That is.
man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ben. I've been
No.
seeing a lot of clips. I'm like,
You
why?
No, from
it's
the trailers as well. We were like, oh, cool. There's a motorcycle one. Wait, the other one looks just like it. Why is he running? It's been baffling for months.
Fascinating.
yeah. You're not wrong, Brandon. It's true because that's what because I got Scarlet and the Koraidon, the legendary Pokemon, who runs. That's what he does. 'Cause even though it's like you have wheels, I can see your wheels. But yeah,
I can see your wheels.
other than that, yes, the performance issues are still there. Yes, there are times the game looks choppy, but this is, I would say, Scarlet and Violet's saving grace is the gameplay. There is still so much you can do. Not instead of just going out there and catching wild Pokemon, you can. I love how there's like 3 different main story arcs you can go to. You can do the gym battles if you're a tried and true. You can go and fight these giant titans where you have to hunt them down in the wild. And also there's a storyline there that introduces, I don't want to spoil it, but it's essentially like, it pulls at your heartstrings. And you can also like go after the Team Star, which is the Team Rocket stand-in for this generation. And even outside of those storylines, there's also like, I can go to this area. I haven't explored this area. Let me see what type of Pokemon over here. Oh, there's a bunch of these crystal raids that I can go do. I can get a bunch of good experience points. I can catch new Pokemon I haven't caught before. I haven't done any of the online stuff just yet, but every time I load up Pokemon Scarlet, it's a game where there's like a bunch of stuff for me to do, but at the same time, it's like now it's easy for me to methodically plan of what I personally want to do next. And then it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go over here. And then next thing I know, I wasted 40 minutes just exploring this one area, trying to find a certain Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the performance issues, they are a thing. It's definitely a major factor, but this entire week, every time I've come home from work or when I've had a moment to relax, I think to myself, I really want to play Pokemon some more.
That's a good sign still. That is a good game. That's unfortunately it probably came out too early.
Yeah. I will not try to argue against the performance issues because there are many times where I'm playing it, I just go or I'm just like, damn, why is it clipping in the wall? But this is one prime example of performance issues. Yes, gameplay is saving it. The gameplay is saving it. It makes me want to continuously come back and play. So
I've seen a bunch of people fall in love with basically. There's a girl who's just Goku in this game, where she's just like, "Hey, what's up? I love fighting. I'm really cool." And I'm like,
I know who you're talking about.
And I'm like, she seems really fun. I'd like to know her.
They done some good stuff with this story wise. They've done good things. The gameplay, they've definitely done good things with it.
Is there voice acting?
Yes. Nope, no voice acted.
I was just wondering if this was the one, but not yet.
No, not yet. But other than that, it's still really fun to play. It really is. So
that's good. That's a really good sign because this is still the Pokemon game I really want to play.
I like the idea that they haven't done voice acting yet. I'm just like, well, Pokemon will catch up eventually.
And fun fact. So fun fact in Sword and Shield, and I even want to say Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl in the Switch games, they put in Pikachu's voice actress into the game. Because before, like when Pikachu was first announced, it was just like the simple the chip tunes that the Pokemon cry from the chip tunes. They re-put the chip tunes back into this game. It's that you no longer hear Pika-Pee anymore.
In this game?
Yeah, in this game. I got two of them.
I didn't know
I
that.
got two. They took out the voice actor. You don't hear the regular Pikachu anymore.
I mean, I don't like that they removed that, but I like that they went back to like the old school, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of that.
We're just talking like main Pokemon games for voice acting, not side stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
Oh yeah.
Real quickly, Ben, the Pokemon that comes out of the ground that's just a head. What's that name?
Diglett.
There's two of them. There's Diglett, and then the new one is Wiglet.
Okay.
Excuse me. There's also Doug Trio.
So the what was the one? The Diglett?
Diglett.
No, the other one. The one that for the stream. Wiglet. Okay. So I wrote down while you were talking about it because I was reminded of this. I don't know why I'm saying this. I was reminded of the video of the one that was in the crotch.
Yep.
The glitch.
We talked about it last week. Yeah.
I wrote down they should have called it Donglet. And I just wanted to say that because I was proud of it.
That's the midnight release version.
That's a Pokemon.
That's a Pokemon.
You know,
Pokemon. We have fun here.
oh my god!
I'll write that down.
Just wait till you find just wait till you see the tentacool that walks on the tentacles.
Oh, it's a different type of porn. We should move on this.
But yeah, I'm done with my week. It was watching that 2-hour video about Tommy Tallarico and oof, and then going back to play Pokemon.
Love it.
Cool. Who next?
I'll go. I watched Knives Out again. It's still great. I don't have anything more to tell you.
I also did that.
I watched Glass Onion. Hey, it's great too. If you can see it in theaters, do it. It's coming out on Netflix December 23rd. That's all I'm going to say right now because we'll talk about it at a later date. I watched the Guardians holiday special. It's great. That's all I'm going to say about it because I'll talk about it at a later date.
Also did that.
That's my week.
All right, I'll go now. I beat God of War last week. I beat it at, I think, 28 hours. And then I started to do some cool cleanup stuff. Because, in big open world games, especially modern open world games, if you beat a game, there's still stuff you can do afterward. God of War Ragnarok has the most substantial post game I've ever seen in a video game. I played for another 10 hours of that game, doing old stuff and new stuff. And it's important stuff. It is. If you stop playing that game and you beat the game, you are fundamentally missing the actual endings of the game. It's almost baffling how much content there is after the game. I won't go any more into that just because I don't want to even spoil what potentially is there. It's incredible. I'm sure Brandon, I'm guessing you're doing some of that stuff now.
I haven't started yet because I just beat it when I went home for Thanksgiving. But tonight I'm planning on it.
Gotcha. So I'm now done with God of War. I might, when they eventually add New Game Plus, I might go back again because I want to replay the game with everything that they give you because once you get to the end of that game, I want to play more of it, but then it kind of ends. And I'm like, well, no, I can just do this from the beginning and then it'll be like a really good ass game. Not that it's not. So yeah, God of War is great. The other thing I did was I read lots of comics. Last month, I picked up the rest of the comics. I picked up Judgment when I lived in Monterey, and I read some of those comics. But it wasn't done yet. So with Marvel Unlimited, and other websites, I read the rest because I don't got money right now, right? I buy enough comics. You can relax. I read every single issue of Judgment and all the tie-ins. That's 6 issues, and then it's literally 20 something other issues that almost all are written by Kieran Gillen. Otherwise, X-Men's written by Jerry Duggan, X-Men Red, stuff like that. Holy shit, y'all! It is such an incredible event. It is the type of thing you want every event to be. It is status quo breaking. It is emotional. The action is epic. You feel things are actually happening in the Marvel universe. The post game, the post story of what happens after the big event happens. We're the status quo of the X-Men, the Avengers, the Eternals, the supervillain organizations like Orcus, where they are in the world is completely flipped. And it is so exciting leading up into Sins of Sinister. I haven't been this thrilled with a Marvel event. I mean, Empire came out a couple years ago, but this is better than that. I love that event. If you guys can,
was Empire top of last year?
It might have been last year.
I think so because I think I was considering it for my top 10.
Then yeah, it might have been early last year. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Times are late with this pandemic. But yeah, this might be my favorite event since Secret Wars, which was 6 years ago. It's just insane, and it's so my favorite thing about comics is like when they can be so big in scale, but it's still all about like the small personal stories. And that's what this entire event is. It's about God judging the entire earth and how every single person is being judged whether you can live or die. And you see every individual story of the Avengers and how they are being judged and how their inner conflict is like, how do you feel being judged about your life and what you've done with your life? And it's hardcore shit, especially with Jean Grey and her destroying an entire planet as the Phoenix. That is such an incredible issue. I am just like, it made me like fall in love with comics again. Like I put it on Twitter, like I love comics, but like this is one of those things where I'm like, this is why I read comic books. This is the shit. And I need DC to do something like this soon because their events, I don't know the last event I read at DC is that I was like blown away by. Definitely the last couple of years. Kieran Gillen is such a talent.
Yeah, a lot of DC's like strongest event stuff that it contains a lot of the characters has been outside of canon.
Yeah. And like I like the death metals and whatever, but like this like Judgment Day is just like, man, when you have a company firing on all cylinders, all the creative teams working together, it feels like an X-Men event. I mean, it is an X-Men event, but it's a whole world event because like as opposed to X of Swords, which is just X-Men, this is the Avengers. There's an Iron Fist tie-in issue that's important, and there's a new Iron Fist that you guys don't know, but it's a new young Iron Fist, and he's got like a whole new dynamic, and I'm like, this is. You give me something good and I'll read it. It's incredible. It's like the Swordsman issue. Mm-hmm. It's like you'd be surprised if you just give yourself open yourself up to chances like what's good.
Yeah, like nobody went into Empire thinking it was going to be a hot event.
No, and that book is radical.
Yeah, or that all of its tie-ins would be good.
Yeah. And again, like Kieran Gillen, Al Ewing, Ramsey, like all these dudes. I'll give Jared Duggan some credit because he's writing X-Men too. They are just so working together so well. And the art, the Judgment main book by Valerio Schiti, his art is insane. It's like you guys remember Pepe Larraz's art from X of Swords and like House of X. It's that good. It's incredible. I posted some stuff on Instagram about it. Like Magneto dies and he stays alive for days using his magnetism powers and Storm electrocuting him so his blood can circulate blood while he doesn't have a heart. He's walking around with an electric heart for a day. It's the most insane, cool thing I've ever seen in a comic. It's so brutal and heartfelt, and I'm just like, oh, I love comics, and it will be on my top 10. And this year is going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to know what I'm going to do with this top 10. It's too good. This year is so good.
I think we can, you and I have talked about this. I think we can start calling it the top 15 because they ain't going to stop at 10 for anybody.
Because I don't want to like. I would feel bad saying like this is honorable mention.
Yeah, we can't sit through 40 honorable mentions with.
Because Judgment just blew my socks off. Loved it.
I am just real quickly inside baseball about that. I'm okay with doing the top 15. I do know I will probably struggle with that because I have not had the hot year that you guys have had. I'm really happy that you guys have had that year. I haven't.
Everything you've reviewed this year? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's me though.
Try to read some comics that you haven't read, and then you can put them on there.
That's me though. I'm not saying that you guys that not for you guys. You were also talking about the last time you were blown away by like a DC event, and I'm like, I think Metal is good. That was the last event I read. I like Death Metal. I didn't read Dark Crystal and Infinite Earths. There's nothing that DC has put out in the last however many years, frankly, that matches the level of excitement that I hear coming from you about Judgment. And that's a real shame that DC just can't really match that or refuses to try.
Yeah. I mean, Dark Crisis is their big event right now, but by all accounts,
it's by all accounts,
that's not working. I mean, that's the thing right there, right? Like, it's not for lack of trying. They keep trying events, and none of them are making any kind of headway.
Yeah. I'm just like, hopefully this new dawn of DC
is it happening right now, or did it finish already? The Flash event, where
that's next year.
It's next year.
Oh,
that Flash event might be cool.
The Minute War. Yeah, I am interested in that for sure. Yeah.
I think January.
That might do it. That might be a good one.
Yeah, it's true. Hopefully,
I'm pretty sure that's January, but I could be wrong.
I thought so too, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, I thank you for reminding me that. Yeah, I am super interested in that one. But that is also, it seems like just a Flash event, whereas Judgment is the entire universe.
You're right. But I mean, like, even then, if that can blow you away,
I'll take it. Honestly, at this point with DC, I will take it.
Yeah.
And that's
all right.
You good, Ben? All right, just checking.
Anything else, Ryan, or should I go?
No, just yo, man. If you like comic books, you should check out Judgment. It's especially got Marvel Unlimited. It's almost all on there now. That's beautiful.
As Ryan mentioned, he beat God of War. I beat God of War. I have not started to do the post-game stuff. I really wanted to beat it before Christmas. Not Christmas. Well, I did. But like Thanksgiving, because I didn't want to spend the whole Thanksgiving weekend being like, I want to play God of War. Really like that game. No surprise. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, especially like plot stuff I'm not going to get into, because we will have a review special for it in the new year when more of us have gotten a chance to play it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the gameplay. It's a lot of fun. I really like the turns the story takes, and I really like much like the first game, I really like the interpretation of Norse mythology. I think it is really well handled. I think it's really smartly handled. We've mentioned it before. Richard Schiff is Odin, and he is so unorthodox for that decision, especially considering the last king of the gods they picked, which was for Zeus.
Yeah.
He's fantastic as Odin. Richard Schiff delivers a great performance.
Yeah, I love, just real quick, like without like, you've seen the trailers, so like this isn't spoiling like really anything, but like he is not Odin from Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-mm.
He's like a card shark.
Yeah,
he's like a gangster. It's an interpretation of the whole family of Odin that I'm just like, this is so different, and it works so well. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I was very happy with that game. I can't wait to talk about more with you guys. Let's see. I watched 2 movies this week. We watched Devotion, which is the new Jonathan Majors movie.
Mm-hmm.
That came out, I believe, this week. Very good. Glenn Powell, Jonathan Majors. We've talked about the trailer, I believe, when it first came out. Probably the second trailer, I don't recall. There's a really cool shot. Probably one of my favorite shots of the year, quite honestly. Like, there's a really cool camera move that they do in this movie, and I was like, holy shit! Like, it was like wide eye, like holy shit. I really enjoyed it. Jonathan Majors is great.
Hell yeah!
I didn't realize it was about the Korean War. The Korean War was a war that my dad served in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the theme of this weekend, because I also watched A Christmas Story Christmas. Now I chose that movie. I was like, okay, let's watch A Christmas Story Christmas. My family loves A Christmas Story. We have it on. There's the 24-hour marathon on TBS every year, and we put that on. Who's seen A Christmas Story?
I feel like it. Really?
Just Ryan?
That's
not even once.
I don't even like. I don't like Christmas, and I've seen it. That's crazy.
I feel like I've osmosed that entire film into my brain that I have never felt the need to.
You might have.
I think I might have.
Ben, I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
Really, of all the movies I've never seen, you're surprised by A Christmas
Well,
Story?
that's just like one of those kids movies that like families put on like when they want to shut the kids up. Like that's just like
literally 24 hours a day. 24 hours from Christmas midnight to midnight. It is on TBS. I'm shocked.
I'll put it this way: like, both my parents love movies. Neither of them have ever wanted to watch A Christmas Story. So
look,
I think they've seen it. I don't think they liked it.
That's fine. I'm not. I figured you hadn't seen it. Frankly, I'm shocked that Ben hasn't seen it. Now, the other thing I'll say is it's not very good. I'm sick of it. I personally do not like it because we watch it every year for Christmas.
It's a fine movie.
It's a fine movie. So I was thinking my family loves this movie, so let's watch A Christmas Story Christmas. We've gone through all my dad's stuff. My dad passed away recently, so let's go through all of his stuff. A heavy day. Let's watch this movie. Have a good time at night. Peter Billingsley has a line. By the way, cool to see him with hair. The last time I saw him, he didn't have hair in Spider-Man Far From Home. Good for him. He has this line where he's like, we'll put up the Christmas ornaments when Grandma and Grandpa show up. And I'm like, because he's talking to his kids. And I'm like, wait a second, that's weird. The guy who plays the father passed away in 2006. And then the story ends up being about how the dad just died on Christmas. And then now Peter Billingsley has to learn how to go forward with his life without his father. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me?
That's a real movie right there, man.
It's written by Peter Billingsley. It's that is a baffling way to start a Christmas movie. Ultimately, The movie is fine. It is just I would honestly say it's exactly as good as the first movie.
Mhm.
So if you like the first movie, or if you think the first movie is fine, you will get the same amount of enjoyment here. It's got a lot of the same gags. It's got charming writing. It feels very much in tone with the original. But it was wild being faced with this movie, and it was just like, how would you make a Christmas movie about this? Anyway, it's fine. Neither Ben or Sparks, you probably have no desire to see it, but Ryan, if you want to check it out.
I'm not, dog.
I don't think so. All right.
Honestly, real talk, like Christmas movies have to be like above better for me to even want to consider watching them. Like
Klaus.
Like what was that?
Like Klaus.
I was literally gonna say like Klaus. Like that might be my favorite Christmas movie.
That's a real good one.
Yeah, because it's just a great movie.
That's some top tier shit.
Yeah,
that's a really good movie.
Like there's Christmas movies that I'll watch just for nostalgia's sake.
That's why I'm so baffled you haven't seen A Christmas Story. I'm sorry.
Like, okay, the stuff that my parents would put on to shut my brother and I up would be the Christmas Eve, the claymation films, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah, Rankin Bass, which we talked about a little while ago.
Yeah, those were the ones my parents would put. My brother would sit me and my brother in front of to shut us up while they worked on the turkey for the following day. Christmas Day,
for those,
yeah. Christmas Day, all bets are off. But
I will say, Peter Billingsley, good actor. The guy doesn't do a lot of acting, and I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's great. Like he's definitely got some like rust to work off, but he's pretty fun. And I think that like he's got the cameos in the Marvel films. The first one in Iron Man and the second one in Spider-Man: Far From Home. He's fun. I think he could start doing more acting, and he'd be pretty good. I would like to see him do other movies, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn it, Mag! Damn it, Mag! Oh,
the Hey Arnold Christmas episode is my top tier. I remember that.
That is some good shit right there.
That is. Hey, let's talk to kids who have no idea really about the Vietnam War. About the Vietnam War.
And then, like when Helga actually gets her boots and she gives.
All right. Anyway, so that's
real quick because we were talking about Christmas Story, and I'm like, why do I know the whole story of Christmas Story? And I realized this is just fun. I realized what it was is that like obviously like a lot of the main things have just kind of been talked about or referenced or joked about, all that kind of stuff. But I put all those pieces into a narrative in my brain. Once I saw the 30 Seconds with Bunnies version.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they did A Christmas Story, and I did watch that because I watched all of those, and that was the only film they ever did, I think, that I didn't see.
You'll poke your eye out.
And I put you'll put your eye out. Like, I put all of it together.
Tongue on the thing.
Based off of that.
Triple dog dare you.
So I am not shocked Ben hasn't seen it when Ben hadn't seen Ghostbusters until we showed it to him.
Brandon forced me to sit down and watch that one.
I had a horrible week, and those movies didn't make it any better. Good movies, fine movies, but that's
unexpected. Yeah,
unexpected. All right, so I decided recently to get back into Doctor Who in not just a little way, but a big way, and this was a mistake. The farting car is outside. That was a big mistake because, guys, I'm starting to go down a Big Finish rabbit hole. For those of you who don't know, Big Finish is the audio plays for Doctor Who. Basically, it's the Doctor Who retirement plan. Once you stop being the Doctor, you go to Big Finish and you keep being the Doctor. So I've been listening to the 8th Doctor ones. I was deciding to strictly keep it to the 8th Doctor ones, specifically the ones that are available on Spotify. So I'll talk about that real quick. I finished the most recent one I was talking about last week, which was The Chimes of Midnight. And I really liked that episode. I thought that episode was excellent. It's the murder mystery one where this girl, Edith, who's a scullery maid in this house, gets murdered. But everyone's trying to say it's a suicide. But then they find out it's a time loop. This girl keeps dying at 10 p.m. And then by midnight, the time loop goes back to 10 p.m. But at 11, someone else is killed and it's random each time. The Doctor is playing this role, is forced to play this role of the inspector, trying to solve this murder. But he can't because the house is sentient and doesn't want the murder solved because every time the house murders, it gains more sentient.
I love a good sentient house story. They're always great.
The reveal is incredible. Basically, not to give too much away. I don't know I don't know how likely is you guys are going to listen to this.
Maybe.
I have most of the Paul McGann audio adventures, so
Don't
ease off the gas a little.
Also, just for the listeners too, maybe.
But the reveal was so excellent and timey-wimey and very much like paradox-inducing and I think Paul McGann is great as the Doctor. I really like him as the Doctor. I've often talked about how he's probably my favorite Doctor. And the girl who plays Charlie is really fun. She's the companion. Just it was great. It was really great. Like I cannot sing the praises of this one. And like I've liked all the other ones that I've listened to. I've really enjoyed a lot of them. This is only the 7th one I've gone through in order. But like, man, this one really like knocked my socks off. I thought this one was really, really good.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
So that'll be that. So I highly recommend that if you don't listen to any Doctor Who audio adventures, I highly recommend listening to The Chimes of Midnight. It is available for free on Spotify. You can listen to it on Spotify.
I love Spotify. They have so many free audio, like the Marvel ones, the Batman ones, like the Doctor Who's. Like they got them all for free, baby. It's great.
They don't have all of Doctor Who. There seems to be a point where Big Finish stopped putting their stuff on audio. There seems to be a point where Big Finish decides to put their stuff on Spotify. Like it's old enough that they'll put it on Spotify, get people to listen to it.
Like a Marvel Unlimited type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. I don't know where that point is yet. I haven't hit it, but I'm hoping I don't hit it soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's still more Doctor Who. There's still more Paul McGann Doctor Who stuff. Like there's stuff with the Time War. Anyway, I went down to Big Finish rabbit hole. Because I went down the Big Finish website, and Big Finish has the War Doctor with Derek Jacobi from the one of the David Tennant seasons, I think season 3. The War Master. I think I said the War Doctor. The War Master, which I think is a brilliant idea because we know that man was the Master during the Time War. So like, oh hell yeah, that'd be awesome. The Paul McGann has Time War audio stuff because he doesn't regenerate until later into the Time War into John Hurt. Thank you, Stephen Moffat, for making that a late entry into the Time War. But John Hurt did some audio stuff as the War Doctor for the Time War. I was like, oh, that's cool. And not only that, but like they have like War Doctor the beginning stuff where they don't have. It's not John Hurt. It's it's a sound alike, but for like a younger John Hurt. There's stuff coming out with like the Fugitive Doctor, which was introduced in the latest season of Doctor Who, the Jodie Whittaker stuff. But so I'm going through this whole rabbit hole, and I was like, you know what? I wonder if they have First Doctor adventures because I kind of like the First Doctor. I think he's kooky and weird, and I want to know what they do.
Yep.
So David Bradley, for those of you who don't know, David Bradley played William Hartnell. Sorry, not William Hurt. William Hartnell, who played the First Doctor. David Bradley played William Hartnell in a TV special called An Adventure in Space and Time, which was about the story of how Doctor Who was created for the BBC. And he's brilliant in it. It's a brilliant special. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. Peter Capaldi really liked that special and was asked what Doctor he would like to meet the most. And he said, honestly, I would like to meet the First Doctor the most. We just got David Bradley to play William Hartnell. Why don't we get him to play the First Doctor? He said this at a Comic-Con. Stephen Moffat ran with that. And David Bradley eventually showed up as the First Doctor on Doctor Who. And he's brilliant at it. He showed up again recently. He's doing Big Finish as the First Doctor. They recast the entire First Doctor companions. So Susan, his granddaughter, is recast. Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright, they're recast, and the first part is free on Big Finish. I listened to it on the way down, and it's brilliant. It's really cool to hear David Bradley, who I really like, as the First Doctor, and you get these new First Doctor adventures, full cast audio plays with the First Doctor. I was like, oh, this is brilliant, and they introduce for the first time ever because the Master was introduced with the Third Doctor. The Master had never been in Doctor Who until the Third Doctor showed up. And they just introduced a First Doctor Master. And I'm like, brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. Well done, Big Finish.
Oh yeah.
I'm in trouble.
No, man, sometimes rabbit holes are good.
There's
Big
so
Finish is
much.
very expensive.
There is so much Big Finish stuff that I want to listen to.
He's not even. He's like tip of the iceberging it, because like there's John Barrowman, Torchwood, and
River Song
and stuff. River Song, Sarah Jane.
They have River Song. They have River Song meeting past doctors.
That's cool.
So they have her meeting Paul McGann and Colin Baker and Tom Baker, I think. They have multi-doctor adventures where all the living doctors team up and do an adventure together. David Tennant and Paul McGann just teamed up for the Time Lord Victorious era, which they did it like 2 years ago, I think, at this point.
I think that was actually last year, because you and I were talking about what is this?
Yeah. So that man. I knew when Russell T Davies was coming back for Doctor Who. I knew I was going to get back into Doctor Who. I did not expect it to be this big of a comeback into this
It's very funny
franchise.
because all it is that he's coming back. You haven't even seen anything yet.
You're right. You're right. And I'm watching the seasons I missed. So we just started the next Capaldi season just earlier today.
Doctor Who is tough, because it is once you go past the shows, it is a steep and sliding slope into. There are so many comics and so many books and so many audio adventures, and you could only consume Doctor Who forever.
But that's like Warhammer.
Yeah,
like
it is. You're very right.
There are literally like 60 books that's like the same story that's like still not done. I'm like, I've read 2. This is too y'all.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about Doctor Who, because like I don't have much to say about these Big Finish adventures, because I only listened to the 2 this week, but I'm gonna keep going. Obviously, there's frankly no other show like Doctor Who, and it's something I didn't realize I missed. Doctor Who has a specific type of whimsy to it that no other show is replicating or even attempting to, frankly. Nor should they. But it's really cool that a show, while Doctor Who does oftentimes try to kind of be more Hollywood, sometimes tries to be a little bit cooler than really it should be. But there's always a certain type of adventure, a certain type of whimsy to it that is so unique to the character of the Doctor. And that the fact that carries on through all eras is really cool. And I'm actually honestly really happy to be back into the franchise.
I can't
realize
wait
I missed it.
I probably won't do any audiobook stuff, but I am really excited to get back into Doctor Who. Because I think when it came to Netflix like a decade ago or longer, like when I first got into Doctor Who and I started watching like the Ninth Doctor and stuff, I'm like, back then, especially when I was like super filmmaker mode, I'm like, this is so freaking cheesy and goofy, and like they know it. Like they know they have a small budget. They don't care. Like who cares if it doesn't look good? Like it's goofy sci-fi. And you're right, Brandon. There isn't a lot of TV like that, and I don't necessarily think I need like lots of other things like it, but like it's also hard to do. To make that tone work where it's not like this is just shit. Like it is a very specific like Doctor Who's done this for like what 60 years at this point. Like 50,
and it's
like,
and to both its credit and its disservice, it's done both. It's been wow, this is kind of bad, and oh, this is actually amazing.
Yeah.
And it's very much like whether it's the shows or truthfully all the extended material. Doctor Who runs that capability of it's so loose with its doctors and so loose with how much you have to be bound to the character beat to beat moments of what's happening to the doctors. As long as you're getting the broad strokes of who they are, it doesn't matter as long as you're not messing with like a specific major storyline element. You can tell any story at any point in any location with anything you want.
Yeah.
And that can be a great story or it can be a story. And you know what? There's so many of them. The ends don't really matter. You're like, this isn't working. Drop it. There are literally thousands more.
Yeah.
There's an episode called The Five Doctors, which was a celebration, I think, of like the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who, where the first 5 Doctors meet up and William Hartnell meets the Master for the first time. Well, it's not William Hartnell; he had passed away at this point, but they recast the first Doctor. And he's looking at the Master. He's like, "Oh, who are you? I don't recognize you." And the Master says, "Oh, you'll recognize me in a couple of years." So like that's a good example of Sparks of what you're talking about. Like I'm listening to this audio thing where they're introducing a first Doctor Master, and so it's like, well, yeah, we can be loose with that continuity because like that's just the kind of show that Doctor Who is allowed to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got. Who wants who news?
I was like, we all went, but
Let's do it again.
no.
Okay, we don't have a lot to talk about today, which is fine for the holiday weekend. So, Blade.
Yes.
Start with Blade. So we talked a little bit about how Blade lost its director and writer. Now it has gained new ones. Jan Demange, who directed the first episode of Lovecraft Country, which is a show we all liked,
Oh yeah.
and a movie called White Boy Rick, among other things, will direct the movie.
Great. Very excited about it. Ben, you still haven't seen Lovecraft Country, right?
Nope.
That's what I thought.
We'll make you watch at least the first episode one day because it's incredible.
Jonathan Majors is in that one.
That is where the three of us became like, we
Oh.
love Jonathan Majors.
Then Michael Starbury will write the new script. He hasn't written anything that we are familiar with, but he has written movies, TV shows, things like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at his filmography, and it is primarily like black centered stories.
Yeah.
So it's like that is awesome. They're bringing another black director, black writer. Like I'm glad for that. These are both people with experience, and like, man, Lovecraft Country, like he didn't direct the whole season, but he set the tone for that season. That's what pilots do. They set the tone for what the whole show will be. So like, he's one of the reasons Lovecraft Country is so good because he set the precedent for what the show would be. Not to obviously disparage all the creators on that show, you know what I mean?
Right. Everybody on the show was firing real well.
So like I'm really excited. I need Blade. Come to me, Blade.
It remains, and as more time passes, it will I think cement itself as maybe the most baffling way they teased him in a post-credit scene.
Eternals.
Yes. Not because he was there, but
I'll say because he was there.
No, but like just because he's a voice.
Yeah.
Like you don't see him.
Yeah.
It's like you have to go Google that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You are like required if you are like, even we weren't 1000% certain when we first heard it in the theaters that was Mahershala Ali, and that means it was Blade. Like we were all kind of like, I think so, but the fact that you have to Google it and have people explain it to you or talk about it is wild. Like, why would you ever do that?
And
why wouldn't you just show him?
And again, like Blade has never. I haven't read every single Marvel comic. I've read a lot. Blade has nothing to do with the Eternals whatsoever or Black Knight. So like him being like, oh, I have a sword. Here's a sword guy. Like I always thought that was such an odd choice, especially for a character we're not going to see for years. So at least I'm just glad don't push it any farther.
It really sounds like this is just speculation based on just the 2 seconds that he was there, or the ethereally, that it really felt like that it was just there to set up Midnight Suns. Like Blade was hey Black Knight, want to come to the Midnight Suns with me? Like that's not what
character who has nothing to do with that franchise, which is still
it's incredibly strange. So like I don't know. I'm excited for this movie though. I want this movie to be really good. I like this director. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm ready for Mahershala to slide uphill with ice skates.
Some other effers always want to ice skate uphill.
I think Kevin Feige's really, really smart. I'm beginning to question more and more if Nate Moore is not the best the person behind the scenes of the MCU.
I have also been questioning that. He's been talking a lot this week.
Yeah, he's been talking a lot lately, and almost all the time I don't like what he says.
Yeah. How long has he been with this franchise, I wonder?
Most
for a while.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I never heard
talking more.
I never heard about him until recently.
No, I think he's just been, especially.
We were definitely hearing about him around the Infinity War Endgame time.
It's the Disney Plus is where we're hearing more about him because he's involved with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. I don't like him.
I don't like a lot of the opinions he shared, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So last week we talked about Bob Iger having replaced Bob Chapek. Robert Allen Iger has replaced Robert Allen Chapek. Coincidence? Probably.
White people.
So we have a little bit more details of some of the things that he's done and Yeah. Anyway, he's fired. So Bob Iger, one of his first decisions was to fire the head of Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution, DMED, Kareem Daniel. This was apparently a Chapek backed hire or promotion, and he was like one of Chapek's like staunch supporters. And so Iger said no.
Makes sense,
Out.
I guess.
Do you have more details about this?
I have some of the things they said.
Okay, so real quick, Deadline did a really great report about Chapek's ousting and Iger's return. That's out there, and I think it has the most verified information that we had been given that we can't be given at this time about the situation. But one thing that we know is that Chapek was supposed to be at the Elton John final concert that was streaming. He backed out midday. Kareem Daniel left midway through when the news came out. Because he knew that his ass was on the ouster. One of the former DGs that had been with the company before Chapek came in and fired him was also at the concert with other Disney executives, and he was just enjoying the show. It's very funny how like blindsided some people were. I think. Again, that Deadline reporting is pretty good. So Kareem Daniel, we've attributed a lot of like budgetary issues with Disney Plus or the decisions to put some things on streaming or Pixar being kept to streaming for longer than it should have without an option of theaters. A lot of that, the hand that dealt it was Kareem Daniel. A lot of budget decisions for these projects, studio and streaming, that was him. So we know something's changing.
Good.
Yeah, actually, on that, Iger pledged a restructure, quote, that honors and respects creativity as the heart and soul of who we are.
The anti-HBO. Or
Well,
Warner Brothers.
I mean, one of the things that we talked about a lot with like when Iger was leaving was that he had a really good rapport with creatives. Like he knew to let creatives do their thing to an extent. Obviously, he's still an executive and who needs to make money. But like he had a good working relationship with Kathleen Kennedy, with Kevin Feige, with who runs Pixar right now,
Pete Docter. Like he had a good working relationship with these people, and he knew that they would deliver if that relationship was to be kept good. And Chapek soured a lot of those relationships, and it showed in a lot of the artwork that we've been getting. So this is. I'm glad that Iger specifically kind of said this because like it says we're gonna go back to where we were. We were doing fine. Yeah. I saw people who worked in the studio system who no longer work at the company, and so they were talking about like when I was there, every single person who'd had Chapek's job and Kareem Daniel's job before them had like made the effort to know our names and visit us when we were the heads of these things and like come in and have at least one conversation with us when they were taking over the job and get familiar with us, if not more than that. And I never saw either of those people once.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Chapek seems like a monster.
Go
ahead, Ben.
No, I was my only 2 cents to throw into this is that following a bunch of Disney creators on TikTok and like other social media websites, they have been having an absolute field day with this. The memes have been glorious, and even like other news sources about like one of the big ones is like how Iger would say that Chapek was killing the soul of or ruining the soul of Disney.
Oh, yeah.
He's killing the soul of the company.
On the Monday after our podcast, so the day after the news had broke, Disneyland and Disney World ran out of celebrating buttons.
Wow.
Everybody went and got "I'm celebrating" buttons.
That's really funny.
That's really funny.
That makes sense.
One of the things that it reminded me of real quickly were things like, Iger was not responsible for a lot of the stuff that came out. Obviously, those are the creators who created them. But it really felt like the thing is it is cynical to say this. I understand, but it's also, we kind of have to take it where we can get it. But like, progressiveness makes money, and even people who are angry at the progressiveness of what we're seeing in media is still generating clicks, which still generates money. And so Iger knew that. And the Weekly Planet often says, like, you know, if studios felt like they'd make more money cutting you open and taking the gold out of your skin, they would do that. Like, they're always looking for the way to make the most money. And Iger realized that putting out progressive media was the way to do it. So we saw a lot more progressive media under Iger than and Chapek came in and swooped in and took it all away because he wanted to cater to the people who are angry, not realizing that their anger is also generating revenue.
Yeah.
It's also really funny. It was really funny this week and frustrating to watch a lot of people saying like Chapek's out because when you go woke, you go broke. And I'm like, y'all, like,
wrong guy.
That was the opposite of what Chapek was doing.
That's kind of why he's out, actually.
People were actually saying that about.
Oh yeah,
wow.
it's a whole agenda because it's whatever fits the narrative. And like one person says it, and then a whole bunch of people run with that idea, and they're like, "You're right," because like regardless of the fact that Chapek was pulling back on it, progressiveness was still in the media, right? Like there were still representations of it. We're going to talk about a movie that this was made under Chapek's regime as much as Iger's, more so even under Chapek's.
Maybe that's why it's buried.
And that's true, but it still is progressive media itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the piece itself is progressive. So these things were still existing, right?
If this were under HBO, this movie would have been canceled.
But you know, like it's not what this narrative is.
You're right. What the thing you hit the nail on the head when you said that, like, it's whatever serves their narrative. Andor does poorly in the ratings, not because of the slew of fine Star Wars stuff. It slips because it's woke. You know, Kathleen. There's a rumor that was floating around this week that Kathleen Kennedy is leaving again. She's going to be leaving.
I've heard that literally for years.
We've been hearing that for years. Frankly,
I hear about it like we hear about Hillary Clinton's emails. I swear.
Yeah, and so they run with that because Andor's not doing well in the race. It's whatever fits their narrative. So Chapek getting fired because he was ruining the soul of the company. All of a sudden became Chapek was fired because he was woke. When if you spend any minute watching that man's interviews, that is so far from the truth.
Right.
Anyway, Iger has asked senior lieutenants Dana Walden, Alan Bergman, Jimmy Pitari, and Christine McCarthy to design a new structure going forward for the company DMED. So design a new structure, quote, that puts more decision making back in the hands of our creative teams and rationalizes costs.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Iger is holding a big town hall meeting tomorrow morning from this recording. I'm sure we're going to hear about it because Bob Iger has done something rather surprising in which he has invited literally every single person who works for the Disney company to view it. It is being streamed out to them live and on a replay the following day. And he has welcomed every single person in the company to watch so they know what he has to say and feel like he's getting them all back on the same page.
Awesome.
Is Iger the closest thing we have to a Walt Disney?
I won't go that far, but I mean, I think the important part is that Iger recognizes that the rot from Chapek goes all the way down to the smallest part of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that every single cast member and every single employee has been affected on every level by Chapek's actions.
Right.
And so I think he wants everybody to feel like they are being welcomed into honestly being welcomed because Chapek didn't make them feel that way.
Yeah.
And that he's trying to send a message, I suspect, of I want to make it better for you. I understand that for everybody there is a problem and we want to fix the problem.
Do I want to know how much he signed on for? How much money it took for him to come back?
It's a lot.
It's actually not as much as I thought it would be.
And it's actually less than he went out on.
It's $1 million.
For a lower pay than what he was making when he left.
This is a lot of money. Like no kidding. This is a lot of money. This is money would change my life. But him, it's peanuts.
Right.
He's only coming back for $1 million base salary.
Yeah. Iger is
he's Davos Golden.
He's Davos. Exactly.
Money doesn't matter anymore.
Money doesn't matter anymore.
Once you get past $5 million, like what's another mill?
He's coming back for the people.
Yeah, he's coming back for the people.
I mean, but that's exactly what it feels like. Like that salary number feels like it's like it wasn't the money that made him come back. It was the desire to fix the company.
It's true.
Yeah, the company that he helped. He didn't create it. He helped usher in a new era it's on the downslope because of the guy in charge. And like, I built something, bro. I'm not gonna let you destroy it. And like, it's awesome that like he's not perfect. He's certainly better than Chapek. So like having somebody who actually cares, that's all I can care about. That's all I want. Is somebody who cares.
He's no saint, but like making the choice to come back at the lowest salary possible for a man in his position, which is CEO of the Walt Disney Company.
That's a big ass job.
Coming in for the lowest possible salary he can take.
Yeah.
That's admirable considering that they have to pay Chapek his big old parachute.
Like he's getting
his contract.
Yeah, Chapek's getting I think 23 million, I think it's reported.
Yes.
Which I mean that's the money
it's because he was contracted for another year.
Yeah, so like he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Trailers.
I do love I was about to say I do love the Ticketmaster memes.
Oh yes, they have been fun. Good lord.
Bob Chapek fired from Disney, hired as CEO of Ticketmaster.
Oh, get the Swifties after him.
Trailers.
Already?
Top.
Already.
Yep.
So there's a show coming out on Netflix. It's a show, right? Kaleidoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a show.
So a feature came out this week called Building Kaleidoscope.
Yeah. So this is, and
it's not clear.
It's not clear, but it is a show that you can watch the episodes in any order. But when we were talking with one of our roommates, she was under the impression that when you watch the show will randomize the episodes for you. As opposed to what I thought it was, let's say it's 8 episodes, you pick what episode you want to watch in a row. Either way, I think it's an incredible idea that I think is going to work because of the talent involved. There's some really great actors involved and the people behind the scenes. I want to say it's Black Mirror people, but I could be wrong. But I think the person directing it was someone from Black Mirror, but I could be wrong. The idea that you can watch a heist, it's about a heist, and you can watch it in any order, and you'll get a different viewpoint of the story, and it'll make sense in different ways, is incredible. That is such a cool idea that if they're able to pull it off,
good on them.
And Netflix has done stuff like this, like Bandersnatch, like the Choose Your Own Adventure shit. So like this is not
the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt finale.
Exactly, yeah. So like this isn't unheard of for them to do something like this. I'm just super curious on like if it's going to be compelling, because like if you do, let's say you watch the finale first, like that's got to be compelling to watch like everything out of order. Like I am so interested in this to see if it's going to be great or a big dumpster fire. Because it seems like too good to be true. Like the coolest interactive story possible.
So it looks like the head director has done a lot of Netflix work, such as Sandman, Lock and Key, things like that. No Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. Okay.
And so the other 2 directors, one of them hasn't really done a whole lot. One of them directed the RoboCop remake. So
I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. That's a studio job. But Sandman and Netflix stuff is okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Marzi Almas. She's directed episodes of Outlander, The Sandman, Shadow and Bone, Paper Girls, Lock and Key, Why the Last Man. Kind of hit and miss, but there's some good direction stuff.
But that's definitely like a seasoned TV director.
Yeah. Jessica Jones. Yeah. I'm in.
The thing I am most curious about if it is randomized or you watch it in your own pace, because like I was more interested in that, so I can go straight to finale and then build the story up from there and see if that actually works as well as they say it will.
I totally forgot the Why the Last Man show came out.
Word.
So the writer of the show wrote the book The Repossession Mambo and wrote the screenplay for its adaptation Repo Men.
Oh, is that the Jude Law one?
It's Jude Law one.
I remember liking that movie.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And a movie called Anonymous Rex.
That's got to be bad.
Oh, the dinosaurs didn't go completely extinct when the asteroid hit 65 million years ago today. Every 10,000th person in the country is a dinosaur evolved to be human-sized, wearing sophisticated, solid light holographic disguises to maintain the facade. This sounds great.
Wow. What?
That sounds great.
I know I'm pretty sure I told Brand, but did I ever tell you guys I woke up from a dream and the only thing I can remember from it was that a demon is simply a perfect dinosaur?
A demon is a perfect dinosaur.
Yeah. Interesting.
The implication being that a demon is just a dinosaur that has evolved to its perfect form in modern day.
Human form, yeah. Still got a tail.
I'm going to try and show you guys this picture.
Oh, wow. That's a Triceratops, man. What sounds like Men in Black. Yeah, you're right, Mag. It does sound like Men in Black. That sounds like a comedy, but it sounds like it's a drum.
It's 4.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh no! Gosh,
I was like, is that something like Velocipaster or something?
No.
Oh, Velocipaster! I remember.
Oh
that.
yeah, I've watched several YouTube reviews on that movie. Yeah, I think this idea is really, really inventive. I just hope it's able to pull it off.
Yeah.
I hope it pulls it off. Really.
The Callisto Protocol.
So, let me look it up real quick so I get the name right. I have watched so much behind the scenes of this game. There's a YouTube channel called Ars Technica, and they're a video game tech channel. And they've done multiple interviews with the creative director of this game, Glenn Schofield. He's the creator of the Dead Space franchise. So like this past week, the game comes out next week. This past week, I've watched every developer blog and like interview about him making the game, his experience with Dead Space and turning into this game. I am so stoked for this game, guys. I can't even tell you. This live action trailer is just like a little hint. It's about Josh Duhamel, and he lands on a dead moon that has crazy parasite monsters attacking it.
Well made.
It's really great looking, like a minute 30 trailer. But I am so stoked for this game because it really is just like the next iteration of Dead Space, and we're getting a Dead Space remake. So like this next month is like a horror fan's like wet dream. I'm so excited for this game. It's gonna be so gross and gnarly.
It's gonna be so great when Ben plays it.
Oh my god, it's like the tech that they have that they're able to do with the PS5 with this shit, like the skin is like see-through, so you can like see the particles in them, and when you shoot in one specific spot, it'll get bigger and bigger, and they will dismember wherever you shoot them, which was a big component of Dead Space, but it is even more now where like they have a gore system. They spent a year building a gore system, so the dismemberment is like literally piece by piece. It is disgusting. I am beyond excited.
I always love. So I watched the live action trailer and I watched the launch trailer. Because I hadn't seen the launch trailer yet. I really like the look of this, and I really like it when video games are just actors. When they use the actors' faces, like Josh Duhamel and
Karen Fukunaga.
Thank you. And it's just them, but but glossy because they're a video game. Like God of War has a few actors in both games that have that.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun when you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just playing as Josh Duhamel.
Yeah, they released a picture, a side by side of Josh Duhamel and then what he looks like in Unreal 5, and it's just Josh Duhamel again. We are at a point with technology where it's like that's just a real person. Oh my god, holy shit!
I saw that picture. I legitimately thought I was being trolled because like this is the same picture.
I had to put it up on my big my big TV instead of my phone, and I had to do zoom ins. Be like, all right, okay, now I know it's a video game, but I have to be like super into it. And I'm like, it's so incredible.
Like, the description said live action. When I was watching, I was like, are we sure this is live action or is this video game? I don't know. The line was blurred.
Yeah. I am, and I'm just so excited because it is not a game that Dead Space turned into. Dead Space 3 is awful. They turned it from being a horror game into a bad action game with microtransactions, and then like they ruined the upgrade system. And like this is just like Glenn Schofield feels like I wanted to go back to like just making a game again. And the game is gonna have a season pass, and so it is gonna have like DLC that you can buy and like outfits and stuff. But like nothing is gonna be behind a paywall like that game was. And I'm just so excited because like it looks horrifying. Like I love being scared so much, y'all. I love playing scary games. This looks like almost too real for me. I'm so stoked. I am so stoked.
3 spooky.
If it's bad, I'm gonna cry.
3 spooky 5 me. Sparks, did you have something you want to say?
I'm not about Callisto Protocol.
Okay.
I am excited about that. I got too into learning more about Anonymous Rex.
Yes.
It's based off books. Books. That was a sci-fi made for television movie, by the way. Not
really?
The movie we were referring to. It was supposed to be a backdoor pilot for a show.
Oh.
Now, put all that aside. The books are they have their like suspense, but they're also supposed to be funny. Especially so Anonymous Rex was the first one, which is about private investigator Velociraptor and his partner, who's a Triceratops. But it has a prequel called Casual Rex, which is way more like Weekend at Bernie's style funny. And then it has a sequel called Hot and Sexy Rex. And I'm not making that up.
This is great.
I might need to read these in the future.
There's There's a Whoopi Goldberg dinosaur movie called Theodore Rex that is very similar to this, where dinosaurs are still alive on the Earth, and he's a detective with Whoopi Goldberg. I wouldn't be shocked if that's tangentially connected to that.
Yeah, Eric Garcia wrote these books. For anyone,
Eric Garcia is the director of. He's one of the dudes working on. Yeah, that's his name was like shown in the behind the scenes of Kaleidoscope. So he's fully involved in it. Awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol looks spooky. Anonymous Rex sounds hilarious.
What if the dinosaurs faked their own extinction?
Fake.
What a good.
Instead of a fake moon landing, a fake.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not hot and sexy. It's hot and sweaty, Rex. My bad.
Oh,
yeah. Gotta keep PG.
The dinosaur mafia mysteries.
There you go.
I'm so thrilled that we discovered this.
I'm endeared.
Is there an audiobook? Is there an audiobook?
No, it doesn't. I think it's too old because like that TV movie was made in 2004. And these books were before that.
Okay.
It does look like there's just 3. It's those 3 books.
You know what we should do?
Book club?
Make the audiobook.
Oh, make the audiobook.
Oh,
Here, I'll be a dinosaur. Hell yeah.
I'll be your Triceratops partner.
Hell yeah.
All right. White Noise.
Yes, so we saw a version of this trailer in theaters for Glass Onion that was different than this trailer was. It was very much. It felt more like a first teaser.
Didn't give you everything.
That's like a first teaser that doesn't explore the story. Now I know what the story is. And I'm very into a dark apocalypse comedy. I'm very into it.
I thought this looked really good. I like the cast a lot. I'm not too familiar with the director, honestly. Noah Baumbach, I believe his name is. I haven't seen too many of his stuff, but I thought this looked really good.
Yes, I agree. I also think this looks good. I like the time period setting and
based off of
the dynamic of the family. I think will be fun.
Very much seems it's going to be like a environmental, like we're ignoring the environment. Let's just move away from it. Just get away from it.
When they're in the flood, just going down the river.
Are we going to ignore what's happening right now?
It's very funny.
Yeah. Ben, how do you feel about this one?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was actually happy to see Adam Driver. Because for a while, I was like, what has Adam Driver been doing after Star Wars and other films?
He's been doing a lot, actually. We just don't watch it.
Last year, he did a musical written by the Sparks Brothers.
That was actually, I think, January this year.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think so.
I forgot.
Near my friends.
Yeah. He was in that Netflix movie with Scarlett Johansson where he yells and he punches the wall.
Marriage Story.
You know what? If you want to see more Adam Driver, I highly recommend Logan Lucky. It's awesome.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
If you want more good Daniel Craig too, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Anyways, besides that, this looked. I didn't really understand what the heck was going on. I just saw like it was in the 80s or the late 70s. Things looked bad. Things looked creepy.
There's some airborne virus.
There's something going on. There's like some cult people doing like jazz hands and screaming.
I really like the parallel overhead shot of all the people in the grocery store with the cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really have anything much to say about this one. I mean, it's like cool. It's on Netflix. It's in theaters. It looks interesting, but mostly I'm just like, yep, you're right, Mac. House of Gucci. I saw that movie.
Gucci.
Wait, you saw House of Gucci?
Yeah, I took Fanny.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, and he was in The Last Duel.
That's true. Damn it.
He's had a year.
I gotta watch that Last Duel.
Really. So for White Noise, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. Maybe another trailer. I'll just wait till another trailer, or I'll probably watch it on Netflix. But other than that, I'm like, that looks cool. I don't really have anything. Nothing positive, nothing negative to say about it.
Okay. I will say that I feel like the trailer gives the vibes of like something that will be a good product, I'm sure, in a well thought out version of this. But it does make me think of the How I Met Your Mother episode where they go to the play, and then it's like it's the one where it's like we are all sins, and then they hold the mirror up to a member of the audience, and they're like, and you consumerism, and like that it's going to hit on that kind of idea of like
I don't think it will be as badass.
No.
What's that one movie that came out?
Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up. I don't think it'll be a Don't Look Up where it's like
no, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But it does feel like that's an amount of what it's doing of like, and you consumerism, and you're like, okay.
Hey, sometimes if that's not right,
no,
it's
like, true.
No, it's true. I am a consumer.
Yes,
you're right.
So because Ben brought it up.
I would argue Strange World to an extent when we talk about it later is doing the same.
So 2019 was Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And then he skipped 2020, probably because of the pandemic. 2021, he had 3 movies, Annette, Last Duel, and House of Gucci. And then this year...
Annette was last year then.
And then just this year, White Noise is the only movie out this year.
Working.
Yeah. Oh, he's got 60. I forgot 65 was pushed to the next year. I'm excited for that. 65 is the sci-fi movie where he's stranded on the moon, but maybe he's not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Excited for that. All right. Avatar 2, The Way of Water.
Let me tell you, I saw 2 movies in theaters this week, and I saw 2 Avatar trailers that weren't the new one. So I was like, "Oh, this is a new one? You're not showing me that?" So I'm glad I watched it. I'm so excited. I'm Avatar pilled, y'all.
I'm still so surprised that 3 trailers are out, and the second and third trailers just refuse to show us anything more about the human boy.
Yeah.
That tells us what his deal is or why he's there.
Yeah.
I'm so interested.
I think this is a pretty good
He's their
trailer.
secret mystery.
Yeah, I think there is new footage, but it is a lot of old footage too. There's a lot of this movie they're not showing us.
Mm-hmm.
This is an over 3-hour-long movie, and I feel like we haven't really seen anything.
We're basically seeing different angles of scenes we've already seen in the previous trailer.
Yeah. So I've heard some that this movie goes so much crazier into like mystical fantasy territory.
I believe that.
Especially you see very quickly you see, I believe it's Sigourney Weaver's teenage character basically like does almost like a Kamehameha, like she glows.
That's in
something.
I think that's in the second trailer, right?
Yes.
She does it in this one. Oh, sorry, that is the second trailer.
It is the second trailer.
Because I've watched that twice this week.
You saw it twice today.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But like, there is so much more of this movie that they're not showing us that I'm really, really excited for.
Yeah.
Because like somebody made a great point. It's like, even though Avatar 1 is a James Cameron movie, that is a one for them James Cameron movie, and Avatar 2 is the one for me James Cameron movie. So like that's
a good way to look at it.
This is going to be a epic movie.
No, I think you're right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
because that's probably going to end up being a good assessment, because like Way of Water feels much just like on site, especially knowing how much it's incorporating like all the marine life stuff.
Yeah.
Is so important. James Cameron, such a motivator of everything he does.
Yeah.
At this point in his life, that it like the man spent so much time on the bottom of the ocean.
He's part Navi.
It's definitely like there's more of him in the project on site than I think there was in the first one. I think there's so much of, not that I want to call the first Avatar soulless, and we'll be doing a review of it soon.
It's the foundation for a world.
He had to do so much else about what he was doing with the technology in the moment that, you know, a lot of the other parts of story and character probably didn't get a lot of his attention.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think you're right. I think that's a really good way to look at it as the one for them. This is the Avatar for me.
I'm stupid excited for this. I watched the second trailer again when I went to see a movie. No, I went to see a different movie this week. Oh, Strange World. Duh. When we watched Strange World, I saw the second trailer for Avatar, and I was crying. Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful on the big screen, and I'm so stoked for this movie. The second trailer, what I'm really surprised about is that James Cameron is kind of marketing it like a Marvel movie, and it's kind of refreshing to see that a big budget original IP, honestly, is keeping so much from the audience, trusting and hoping that the audience will come to it. And we've heard the news. This movie's got to make a buttload of cash to make back its money.
This is what really bums me out. It has to become the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time to make it. And I'm like, that sucks, because like I think it will do it. I do think I think people are unexpectedly, again, like don't count James Cameron out. He's made highest grossing movies multiple times. But
also Twitter, the Twitter space is not a very good accurate representation of the general audience. No. Only like 20% of the human race population is on Twitter. And so the fact that also Avatar 2 will be the first Disney film to release in China since 2019.
Look at that. Oh yeah, it's money, baby, money.
So this movie's making a lot of money, I'm sure of it. I also never count James Cameron out. I really like the first Avatar film. I've liked it since the beginning. Although, much like Sparks was talking about Silent Hill recently, I had a very similar trajectory with Avatar, where I was I was kind of convinced. Like I convinced myself, like, oh, everyone's right. It's not. It's just Ferngully in space, whatever. It's fine movie. I was somewhat mistaken. I haven't seen it in years. And thinking back on it, I was like, no, you know what? I like that movie. I'm excited to rewatch it. I'm really excited for the sequel. I frankly can't wait.
I saw it. I remember it was my senior year of high school. I saw it 4 times in theaters because I have my first time was in IMAX, and I'm like, I can't believe movies can be like this. And I was like, later.
I saw it real quick. Sorry, I saw when they re-released it with 8 minutes of new footage. I went to see that,
and
then they re-released it with 16 minutes. I didn't go see that, but I should have.
Too much.
I remember seeing it opening weekend with my dad, IMAX 3D. We straight up went to it. He's like, if we're gonna see this movie, his exact words were, if we're gonna go see this movie, we're gonna see it right. And we went to the biggest IMAX screen that we could find, got the 3D IMAX thing. My dad was walking away. He's like, you know what? $40 for the two of us. That was a lot of money, but you know, it's going to be worth it. We walked out. Man, that was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Avatar single-handedly made Alice in Wonderland $1 billion. Isn't that wild to think about?
You're gonna have to
elaborate.
Alice in Wonderland was the first film directly after Avatar to use the 3D that Avatar spearheaded. That movie made $1 billion because of the inflated ticket sales for everybody trying to see the 3D that Avatar had done. It piggybacked, rightfully so, off of what Avatar did. And it's insane to me that sequel got greenlit because of it. That sequel tanked.
And you know what? Like, I saw so many 3D movies. Looking back, I'm like, why did I waste that extra money on so many? Right? Because half of those movies are post-converted and they don't even look good.
Yeah. Very few were shot in 3D.
Clash of the Titans was awful.
Animation almost always benefited from the trend, but particularly there's very few movies I go out of my way to own a 3D copy of. I don't even have a way to watch the 3D Blu-ray right now, but if I ever get a player, I want to make sure I have the copy of it. And one of the most prominent ones is Charlie Brown, the Charlie Brown Peanuts movie that came out of just 5 years ago.
The football comes right at you.
It's a 3D one, and the animation is exceptional in 3D. Truly, truly beautiful. So, it happens. And Avatar is, Avatar's 3D is different from other 3Ds.
Yeah. Max says he saw it in September, the re-release. I wish I could have found time to see it on a big screen.
Me too.
I mean, I got a big screen downstairs, I guess, though.
What was always so great, what I think, like Sparks was talking about, what I think the animation benefited so much from was that, James Cameron, 3D was always it's coming out at you, it's touching you, but James Cameron pushed the 3D in and made it so that you were kind of looking into a window. And I think animation specifically benefited from that style of 3D in a way that live action not entirely did, mostly because they were the post conversions that we were seeing.
It also helps that Avatar is mostly animated.
That's true.
Yeah, it's all CG.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
Time to take a journey.
Let's go into our main topic.
Drinking my Strange World juice.
All right, we are talking about Strange World, the latest Disney animated film, the first to ever lose money, most likely.
Actually, 20 years ago to this day, Treasure Planet came out and also bombed.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie.
That movie was great.
I like Atlantis more, though, if I'm honest.
Atlantis is also really good.
It is good.
All right. So, full spoilers. You've been warned. Pause this. Stop this. Do whatever you do to avoid the spoilers or not. We can't control your lives. But if you don't want to know anything about this movie, stop it now. So if you're still here, full spoilers. You've been warned. What do we think about this?
Pause menu. I had a great time. I was predispositioned. That's the word. This is a movie I've wanted Disney to make for a long time. The closest movie that has come to it is Up, where them going to a fantastical world. I love old school pulpy shit, like old school adventure comics, old school Journey to the Center of the Earth, and that kind of stuff. Not so much the modern stuff, just because I don't think it's as good. But I love, especially like old pulpy comics, like the credits of this movie, the opening credits, I loved a lot. I think it looks great. I love the characters. The third act twist, it made me like the movie even more. I just wish the script was better. I think it's a pretty generic script. That is and it sucks because it's like what the whole movie's based on is like the script, right? But like, it is one of those movies where we've talked about some other movies this year that are kind of like it, but this is like the best version of that. Where like, if this script were better, it would be in my top 10. I love what this movie's doing. I just wish what they were saying was just a little sharper, a little more, not cutting edge, but a little another round on the script maybe to give it just a little more punch, because it felt pretty generic at times with what they're saying. But I think the emotions that are happening on screen and the performances are excellent.
Sparks or Ben?
I would essentially repeat pretty much what Ryan said. I think the world's very well visualized, and brought to life and thought through, and the characters are very good. The performances are good. The tone of it is great, and I like what the arcs are. But I think Ryan's right. Like, it is a simplistic and in a lot of ways predictable script that I think does drag it down a little.
Yeah.
Ben?
You know, when I walked out of Strange World last night, I walked out of there liking it. I was like, man, that was pretty good. I had a fun time. But there was just something in the back of my head. I was like, there's something about this movie that I'm not raving about. It's still good. And then Ryan nailed it on the head when he said it was bad. It could have been a better script. And I agree, because the more I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, there were some pretty corny lines. I mean, there were some great action pieces. The twist at the end I thought was phenomenal. But everything leading up to that, it was kind of like paint. It felt like a very paint by numbers family adventure story. And it's like, not to say that we haven't seen that before, but it's definitely like, I've seen this. I know where this is going to go. And he's going to say the same. It's like, I was like sitting there going, it's like, we'll get into it, but it's like, when that's going to happen, it's going to happen, but the roles are going to be reversed.
Yeah.
I pretty much agree with everything you're saying. I was really excited for the movie because it felt like they were hearkening back to what we were honestly just talking about, your Treasure Planets, your Atlantis: The Lost Empires. I really thought this movie was trying to kind of recapture what makes those movies really fun, those type of adventure movies that I adore. Frankly, I love Atlantis: The Lost Empire. It is, for me, top 10, top 5, maybe Disney films of all time. So I'm all in on this kind of idea, but watching it, it's got all the elements that I feel like it needs to have, but it's missing that like X factor to push it over the edge, to push it into that kind of fun adventure film that those movies are for me. It's just missing that one, the X factor is, it's that one thing.
The little bit of magic that pushes it over to be like, oh, this is incredible. Yeah.
I think I'm thinking about it right now, and I've been thinking about it since we saw it. And the main problem in the script that I see is that the movie knows Ethan is the main character, but it thinks the main character is Searcher. And because it constantly brings us back to,
that's a good point. Yeah.
To Searcher's arc, rather than letting Ethan's fully flourish, Ethan is never truly our center character. Like it's about Ethan's like growth and his relationship with Searcher evolving beyond what Searcher's has been with his father. But it's that through the lens of Searcher, not through the lens of Ethan.
Yeah.
Sure.
When it should have been through the lens of Ethan about Searcher and his dad.
Yeah,
It's very much, you know what? Because sorry, real quick, Brandon. Sorry. The moment where they're on the little bike and they go into the mist and they're sitting facing away from each other, I was like, okay, Goofy movie, gotcha. Because it's the moment when they're on the car, and I think that's very apt. But the reason I think that's so apt is because Goofy movie is from Max's perspective.
Yeah,
it is Max. Like, we see scenes with Goofy that don't have Max in them, but the movie is favoring Max's lens. This one is favoring Searcher's. And that's where I think it's not working with itself, because it's really Ethan. It's really about Ethan.
It's trying to have, it's trying to do two arcs at the same time, but it's not choosing on who you want the story to actually be about.
Because it's trying to feed Searcher's relationship to his son and his father as the main story point, when it should be Ethan's relationship to Searcher, and through that, how that has been affected by Searcher's relationship to his father, not also serving that story. That's not to say like you can't have important scenes between Searcher and his dad, or that you shouldn't be following up on that story, but it should still be about how that has affected Ethan.
Yeah.
And coming back to that as the center point. And I think that's really where it falters, is that we're constantly being kind of turned away from where the story feels like it belongs.
I wonder if perhaps I don't mind throwing this guy under the bus. I don't know what I'm saying. I wonder if perhaps Chapek prevented it, because Ethan is, honestly, Disney can say whatever they want. Ethan is their first gay character. He is the first character who is explicitly gay on screen, is acknowledged as being gay from the start of the movie, and that is about, and his arc is about, partially about he is in love with a boy. Like that's really cool. But I do wonder if perhaps Chapek prevented it from being a story about him entirely, and pushed it to be more about Searcher.
Yeah.
Speculation. I don't know if that's true. I don't mind throwing him under the bus like that, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I wonder. Mag's right. I leaned over to Sparks and I was like, "Is that Settlers of Catan that they're playing?" That's a fun game. I'm like, I really do like the movie. It's just like, it's just too formulaic at times for me. And I'm like, I think you are right. Like I was super invested in Ethan and like him becoming like him being an explorer like his grandfather, and like the drama between like how his dad, he doesn't want him to grow up like his dad, like the same thing that's happening with him, with Searcher and Jaeger. Like, I think that's all great. I think it was just too like, we saw it coming. We knew what was going to happen. Oh, they're going to get a new argument, and then Ethan's going to hang out with Jaeger and they're going to get along, and that's going to make it more dramatic. Like, it just felt like A to B to C, but everything else surrounding it, I adore. I really do. I love the world, and the reveal that it's a giant creature that put the movie over to me of like, I think this is a pretty good movie that just has that. It bums me out that like it's like formulaic, because I think everything else surrounding it's incredible.
I'm thinking about my own relationship with both my father and his father, and how my dad hated his dad from the moment like once I was in the world. No, I'm sorry. Once I was 3, that is when their relationship turned to a hate for each other. It had nothing to do with me. There's something else that happened that I won't go into here. But they developed this deep resentment for each other. But my grandfather loved me and wanted to have a relationship with me. So what happened is that I'd get these different kinds of narratives about who the other one was in their eyes. And that's kind of what we should have had with Ethan. We should have had this like, who the grandfather thinks Searcher is to him, and who Searcher thinks his father is to him. And especially with that 25-year gap, like not even knowing who they are anymore.
You know what I think one of the problems is? I expected Jaeger to show up way later in the movie. He showed up really early. He shows up in the first act. And I think we needed more time with Ethan and Searcher about their relationship to show that is the same relationship he had with his father. And that like he's doing it unknowingly. So when Jaeger does show up, he's like, "You're just doing what I did. Like, we are the same person."
I hear you, and I don't entirely disagree, I guess, but I do think like I was like you. I thought Jaeger was going to show up later. When Jaeger showed up, I was actually relieved.
Yeah,
felt like that was bucking away from formula.
Okay,
that he's usually going to be like, I expected him to be a late second act reveal.
Yeah. Like the mom.
But the fact that he gets there, in there early means that those relationships are brought to the surface immediately.
That's true.
I do think it's just all about like it didn't want to take a lot of time defining Ethan's relationship with the two men individually. It wanted to use Ethan in between them defining their relationship, and that's where I don't think it excels at the story that it had on its hands. Ethan's great. The whole family's great. I'm really glad that you get the mom coming back in, because I didn't want them to leave her at the farm.
Yeah, she's a great pilot.
I knew they wouldn't, because I'm sure I've seen her in another part of the trailer.
Yeah.
But I got nervous. I'm like, no way, right? I really like the queer representation is nice, because it's just treated as just there. There it is. Like Ethan gets just as flustered, flirtatious around a crush as we've seen any boy or girl in a Disney property do before.
Yeah.
It's not, it's treated.
It's
correctly.
just how life is. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
And I really appreciate that. I think, I think what we're talking about with the script stuff, I do think that's like, there's a lot of kind of generic moments. There's some really nice gems. Like I really do like. It's one of the better scenes, I think, between Searcher and Jaeger, which is when they have the drinks.
Yeah.
And what he says about how he views the farm and how he views
I get that.
the legacy for his kid. And all Jaeger says is, I get that, and I get that too. And it's actually, it's very on the nose, but it is conveying all this emotion about what they, again, like how they have differently perceived the relationship that they've had. And you could have gotten more of that through Ethan instead of through Searcher.
100%. Because like, that moment's great because you think that's a moment where Jaeger's going to be like, you know what? Like I did mess up and I'm going to change. He's like, oh, I'm too old. Can't do anything about it, I guess. And I'm like, damn, that felt real.
Sparks, you're about to say something in regards to that. I want to go back. So if you have something to comment on that.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick, because like what it is, just in that is that Ethan, like when Ethan has the blow up at Searcher, and says, I don't want to be you, kind of moment. Like it's a opening up for resolution between their relationship, right? But it's treated in this way where, because he has guided like Searcher to that, Searcher isn't ever kind of given credence to the resolution path for his relationship with his dad is more than just like blaming him, but actually understanding him. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They could have done more of that for sure. Yeah.
So a little whiles back, Ryan, you mentioned how the dad is introduced really early. I don't necessarily think the issue is that the dad is introduced really early. It is interesting to me how quickly the movie gets to, okay, we're going to the strange world because of this thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I needed it to go any longer. It was just a little jarring that we spend so little time in the town. I think they do a fine job of kind of getting you familiar with the town, and kind of this crop. I don't know. It was just like you said, Ryan. It was surprising that Jaeger shows up so early. It was surprising that we went to the strange world so early. We're still in the first act when we go to the strange world. That would be the second act thing.
I suppose I prefer spending more time in the not that Avalonia isn't beautiful, but like I think I personally want to spend more time in the crazy world than the regular world, because that's just more interesting. And we see enough of the world to know that it is incredibly different and magical in its own way. So like it's air powered electric grapes.
I want to be really quickly clear that I was not making it a criticism. I was just saying it was surprising.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I didn't find it surprising because like when I think of like all these other movies, like I don't want to spend an hour on Earth only to spend 30 minutes in a strange world. Like I when I go to a movie like this, I want more magical than real. Mm-hmm. That's like, that's perfectly.
It is worth noting, I think, that this might be Disney Animation's shortest film in a while. Mm-hmm. Coming in at 1 hour and 42.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I don't need to look them up. But I do think that there's an amount of just trimmed fat here.
Yeah.
And I do think it's helping the film more than it's hurting it. There's not necessarily things where I feel like, oh, I need more time or I needed this expanded on, blah, blah, blah. I just needed different kinds of moments to happen inside of the story they were already telling.
Yeah. Ben, do you have anything to add before we move on to anything?
Or before
not really. What?
Nothing.
No, we were just making a joke about your sleepiness.
No, I really don't have anything to add on that whole bit.
That's fine. You don't have to. If you have nothing, you don't have to say anything.
Nah, I got nothing.
I want to talk about something real quick. So part of the thing of like part of I think the surprise comes from two plot points that I think are kind of messy in the movie, specifically. And I if you guys disagree, that's fine. I think the reveal of the like grape thing, of the electric grape thing, being one organism is very sloppily handled. When being like, as we know, it's one organism. Okay. The other thing is, I think the president's weird turn that all of a sudden she's evil for a minute doesn't work for me. All of a sudden she's just like, yeah, you're wrong. We're going to kill all these creatures and we're going to do this thing. There is nothing in this character that has shown me that she would make that turn up until this point, and she does it so briefly that it almost seems like she just hiccuped into a different person for just a minute.
You know what? I completely forgot about that turn. You're absolutely right. That's actually one of my major problems with this movie is the president.
It's just weird because then it's like immediately resolved.
I personally disagree. I don't find it villainous. I think they are 9.9 tenths of the way to complete their journey, and she's one of those people where like, I'm not a scientist. You are. So like, if you like, I'm gonna do the things my way. You do things your way. Like I just found her. She was determined to win, and like at the final breaths.
I do feel strongly about this to kind of push back a little bit.
Okay.
The thing about what you said is like she acknowledges she is not a scientist. She is bringing Searcher along because he is the expert here, and she never portrays an air that she is ever willing to go against what Searcher is trying to do. And Searcher, she's been trusting Searcher all the way up until this point. She brought him in there, and we get so little character work with her that I think probably could have been fixed by introducing her before not in the flashback. But like introducing her status quo as the president in the real world for a minute, to all of a sudden kind of making this turn into this desperate villain antagonist force was just honestly not necessarily a horrible way to go. I understand why they did it. It's just for me sloppy.
I'll tell you what. I will agree about the characterization, how there isn't much depth to there. I don't have a problem with the villain turn just because like I think she's someone who would like do anything to finish the mission. But I will agree that there's not enough setup to make to fully embrace that. So I'll agree with that. Sure.
It's also to me like that it wasn't handled in a way where I felt like I didn't feel like she would suddenly become villainous or anything. I felt like she responded in I think a more. I agree about the character point. I just want to get that out of the way. I agree about the characterization. I could have used more of it with her. But maybe I'm giving the movie too much credit. But I think that's a very baked-in human response for something. We are given enough information earlier on to know that this society now basically thrives off of this plant. And they no longer know what they can do if they don't have it. To the point where they panic and mention it on the radio and say, you better wake up, farmers, get that electricity going, because otherwise we're going back to horse and buggy, and I'm never doing that again, because apparently that was the worst thing in the world. And I think that idea of what Searcher is saying about how they live is so bombastic and world-breaking that to react in fear, because in tandem with that idea of, by the way, whole world, back of a giant animal.
He is very extreme about how he presents it.
And then saying like, we have to destroy our one source of energy. We have to just get rid of it. I think the impulsive decision when you've been locked in a mission and say, no, obviously the enemies are the monsters that have actively attacked us. For that to be her immediate response, I don't think is wrong. I think it feels like a very human thing. And it also comes down to like, once they get her to a place where she can see the heart itself as the heart, that she's like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like it's not even said, like she sees it and she understands that, okay. So we like, this is the alternative of us saving our energy sources. We will ultimately all die. Got it.
But she locks the whole family in a broom cupboard.
What else are you going to do with them if you know that they're going to try and like steer the ship away from the mission that you are trying to complete? You got to put them somewhere.
There is nothing in the movie that suggests to me that she wouldn't immediately talk to them first.
I hear you. I do hear you. I just think they're in a high stakes situation. I think that is a very in crisis mode human response that I think is logical. I agree that we could have had more character moment to give the inklings of that's how she would respond in a crisis, but I do think it is a crisis response that makes sense.
Maybe if there was another crisis that introduced that aspect in the movie, I would feel happy about that. But It's sloppy. It's just, in my opinion, it's just sloppy.
Yeah, that's fine. What was the other one?
Oh, this is the whole thing is the back of a giant organism. No, not the back of a giant organism. The plant that we know as many plants is actually just one giant plant in the center of the earth. We're gonna go save it.
Do they? I just assumed they sent. No. Yeah, I guess
They say we already sent a research team because they've been studying the plants.
Yeah.
So they'd already tracked the roots all the way to this hole.
Okay. Yeah,
they brought Searcher in because they got to this point.
Yeah. Okay. So
But like that's how they explain it is that later, like we've learned already that it's all connected into
maybe
this root system.
They have like when she's explaining that, we show the scene of the researchers going there to better help the audience understand that.
I don't think there's a fix for that one. I don't think there's actually anything inherently wrong with that sort of exposition. Again, it's just kind of one of those things where we look at the script where it feels like it's just a sloppy moment of the script. We have to get this information to the audience some way, so let's do it this way. I don't know if there's a better way to do it. It just, for me, felt sloppy.
Well, it's also like when you think about it, like their information is wrong. They assume it is a one organism, right?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't. It is a bunch of branches that are just leading to go strangle the heart. Like it's just an invasive virus of some kind that is looking to kill the creature. And it has gone from where they've planted it to dig in and connect and go all the way for the heart. Rather than actually being like they're technically wrong. So, yeah.
I care about to say about more of that. There's nothing I care to say about more for that aspect of it, honestly.
I was really enjoying the movie. Once we got to the third act and it turned into this is a living creature, and it's an immune system, and these are blood vessels, and this is white blood cells attacking to like stop a virus. Like the negatives of the movie became lesser to me because I was really enjoying what was happening, especially that final act of like the thousands of squiggy monsters going after Ethan and the blood pterodactyls. I just thought it was really, really cool. And it's like, when this is a $180 million movie and it looks incredible. And I love that final act. I wish getting there, some of the words I wish they didn't say I got this 4 times in this movie, guys. Let me tell you.
I wish, honestly, my biggest roll my eyes is that every time when the president says, "We came here to save Pando," I feel like she says that 5 billion times, and I was like, "Shut up, we know."
Ben, can you bring up Mag's latest comment, please?
Oh yeah,
yes, I can. Any favorite creatures or designs?
It's 100% the deer-bodied thing that pops a fan out of its head.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
I do think Splat is a lot of fun. There's this scene where Splat is leading Ethan's character to his death.
Yeah.
And when Ethan helps Splat, Splat's like, "Oh wait, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Don't kill him.
My favorite part of this movie is actually when the evil monster eats like the helicopter, the gyro, the helicopter thing, and then has the little like helicopter hat, and he just stops the guy from touching it. That was very funny.
I think those are probably my favorite, or the rocks that turn into the tentacles.
As far as my favorite, it's the little light little things that like create help fix the heart at the end. There's something else in the
they regrow what he burns.
Yeah,
I thought those were very pretty. I really like those little creatures. I think they're very cute and very pretty.
They come off like giant brontosaurus looking trees.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
The really cool. Little dudes in the burning sea. Those little green dudes that help. Those are cute guys. Those were adorable. I was like, man,
the acid sea. I've read and watched so much fantasy shit, and I don't know how many times I've ever seen an acid ocean before. Like that's such a cool idea. I love that idea.
So
it's his stomach. It makes sense because it's his stomach, and it's his body. I love it.
Did you guys figure out that they were inside an organism early on, or did the reveal tell you?
No, surprisingly, I'm usually good about this shit. No, I thought it was going to be Journey to the Center of the Earth.
I started to assume when they had the bit where Ethan is talking with Splat and he's looking up at the trees and they're all breathing in and breathing out.
Yeah.
And then I thought back to when when Searcher referred to the plants as the Pando as a heartbeat. And I was
Oh.
like, okay,
Makes sense.
this is probably at least all connected in one way, if not a living organism.
Mhm.
I haven't really talked about it myself, but like Ryan's talked about it a lot. Like, I want to agree. Like, I think the twist in this movie is insane in a really good way.
Mhm.
Like the fact that they just all that at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, they reveal they're actually on the back of a giant turtle.
You know what this is? This is a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, I mean it's really cool that they went that direction, and it's honestly the most interesting creative choice that they make in the movie. Because if they don't have that, it's still a pretty good movie. So,
Yeah.
But the fact that they did that was like, again, insane in a good way. I don't often see such a major twist like that in this. And when they zoom out at the end to just see that, I'm sure maybe there's others behind the earth, but like that it's this lone creature in the sea, in the orb of ocean, is really cool. I thought that was awesome.
To your point, as their best creative decision, I think it is in the case of how it makes every other creative decision, especially in terms of like how the world is or the creatures and what they do. It all makes it great because what looks like randomness,
Yes,
all becomes cohesive, clear nods to specific things, elements of it, the internal workings of an organism. And I think that's where the genius of it lies, is that on the surface, like when we first saw the trailers, none of us suspected that that's what this was. It all just looks like weird Dr. Seuss crap. And you get to it, and they've now made it so like you can one-to-one anything in the movie and be like, it's kind of an adaptation of this or that.
Yeah.
As Ryan was saying, with white blood cells, with the blood vessels, with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The more well, obviously, when I was watching this movie, the more I was seeing the creatures, the more I was seeing all the organisms, I was noticed, because I knew, like, for the trailers, like, we saw these fantastical creature designs. And the more I'm watching this, like, they don't have eyes, mouths, they don't have really anything. They look more like cells. They look more like body parts or internal organs.
Cell has a mouth. Cell has a mouth.
Well,
he's got two.
He's got
fair
two
enough.
mouths.
and
Not that cell, damn it. Not that cell. But yeah, the more I watch it, and then of course when they go outside and they see the eye, I'm like, oh, this makes much more sense.
Oh, I love that. Oh my god, I love that shot so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that I really do like that shot.
I have two more notes. Oh, actually three. I'll agree with Sparks earlier. Earlier you said like that the mom comes down with them. Excellent scene, honestly. Really great introduction to that character for the mission specifically.
I think we get a lot of good stuff with her. What I found myself like really thinking about that I really enjoyed was how new this world, their concept of world is, like all this technology that they have. Like it's 25 years that they've developed all this. And so the concept of flying is new. And that she's taken to it, that it's something that she loves so much. And then she has that bit where she says, if that one thing can protect the other two, then that's what I'm going to do. And I think they gave her a really good presence in the movie without like sidelining her into too much. As weak as the script can be, like I think she has a good presence without becoming generic mom.
Yeah. Let's talk about the performances real quick. Dennis Quaid and Lucy Liu are both doing incredible work, and work that I've never heard them do before. I didn't know Lucy Liu could sound like that. Yeah. I've never seen anything she's ever done where she doesn't have kind of a beautiful, like sweet voice, and she's like really raspy. And I'm like, bro, she's a voice actor. Like Lucy Liu, you're killing it. Dennis Quaid, he turned into Harrison Ford. You said it. He turns into Harrison Ford in this movie. I'm like, damn, like you're really good, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid's clearly not phoning it in.
Yeah.
And he's acting, and Lucy Liu, to her credit, like is acting. I think the rest of the voice cast is very good, but I think those two prominently stood out to me as like they're delivering some real performances. These are some real performances from them. They put work into these, and I can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. On that note, Alan Tudyk has 3 voices in this movie.
Of course he does.
And that was very fun because they happen in kind of succession. He's the guy who announces who narrates the flashback.
He's the narrator. He's the
radio host.
Yes.
And the first pilot who's killed.
First pilot, yeah.
Who gets killed?
Yes.
Yeah, who gets killed.
Good
for him. Get that check.
Get your Disney paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I like that. I don't want the movie to have explored this idea too far, but what I do like about this movie for like being family entertainment kind of thing, a Disney film, what I do think it's doing very, very well is like it's also telling an idea of like we kind of referenced it earlier with White Noise, that it is doing this idea of kind of challenging like, okay, to make it so that everyone's lives can keep going forward, like save your world. How much are you willing to give up of what you consider a luxury or a comfort? How much are you willing to change? Like, this is very much like, an environmental challenge, right? Like it can one-to-one to climate change of like, how much of the luxuries you have are you willing to sacrifice when the world is on the line kind of thing, which again, like, is why I was already thinking about that as the film was unfolding its story about what the danger of losing Pando could mean to them. So when
fossil fuel.
So when Callisto's turn on them came, I was already in the mindset of thinking about that. So that's what I plant to her as well, is this idea of in a knee-jerk reaction, not willing to part with it. Too addicted to it. Would not.
My last note on this, I think I'm pretty much done after that. There's a scene that I actually really like. It's the scene when the bad monsters are attacking the ship, and they're throwing the Pando balls, and Searcher can't throw, and they use Cade, right? Cade?
Jaeger.
Cade?
Jaeger is from another movie, but his name is Jaeger.
Jaeger Cade. I thought it was Cade Jaeger.
Clade.
It's Jaeger Cade.
Their
Clade.
last names are the Clades.
We're the Clades.
Okay. I really like that they use that as like a teachable moment and kind of like a bonding moment. It's a very sweet father-son scene.
Cade Jaeger is Marky Mark in Transformers.
You're right. I hate that you reminded me about that.
I hate that I know that.
I really like that scene. Also, I like the scene where they're playing what's the Catan?
Outpost,
Primal
Outpost.
Yeah.
I think that's a sweet scene, but I do really like the scene with they're throwing the Pando at the monsters.
Not only do I think the Primal Outpost is a good scene, but I also think that it's telling you right there, again, like kind of on the nose, but I think it's fine for a Disney film where Ethan, again, should be our primary character, is saying there are no bad guys. There is no bad guy to this game. It's about living harmoniously with your environment.
That's when I should have known. Right there, yeah.
Like you kill this monster and you lose because this other thing shows up, and like they're not necessarily your enemy just because they look scary.
Yeah.
And I thought that was well interwoven as to like cue you into what the theme of what the film was trying to do was.
I think, despite the script, I think there are a lot of really like wholesome, great family moments. Like the beginning of the movie with them like cooking food and dancing together. I think it's really cute and fun. The dog, maybe one of the best dogs in a movie.
So
he's
really,
just a dog.
We talked about it. I'm really happy with the dog because the dog is just a dog. The dog isn't particularly good at anything. The dog doesn't like save the day by smelling out something or some bullshit. The dog literally acts like if you put my dog on the ship and lets a dumb thing get on its face and puts everything in its mouth and isn't very constructive in a crisis and constantly puts itself at a point where it's going to put itself in danger.
Almost dies.
I found I think one or two moments to be really funny in this movie. One of them was when they're all locked in the broom cupboard and Splat goes out to unlock the door and then goes back in and everyone's like, what?
That's probably my favorite. That's probably the funniest moment I think in this movie. And then the door opens and we're just like, what?
That was really good. All right. Anything else?
Yes. The moment on the ship when she's staring uncomfortably at her son. She's like, I'm your mom. I'm allowed to do that. It's just, it's nice seeing you in your element, you becoming the person you're supposed to be. I think that's a really great moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really, really great moments. I think you just needed one more pass on that script. And like this movie would have been like, I think really special. Cause I think in parts it already is. It's just like, sometimes what they say is a little generic.
I think they do a really good job with Splat as well. I wanted to highlight that I'm really appreciative that they don't do a lot of like lassying with Splat, where they're explaining what they are interpreting from Splat. And what it means is that sometimes you don't know what Splat is saying. Like sometimes you'll get the intent ultimately, but some of Splat's gestures might go over your head and it might not be clear to you. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just glad that both Splat and Legend were never used for the purposes of kind of trying to sell merchandise necessarily directly, or to give you the comedic relief, or felt like they were just forced in. They felt like natural little pieces of the story that didn't necessarily like take away from the elements they were just supposed to be. Also, just, you know, like an interesting choice, but I think a welcome one, like ableism and disability representation is nice to see, even if it's still through a dog. Three-legged dog. Three-legged dogs deserve love. I'm surprised they did it, but it's nice. It's a nice thing. It's a three-legged dog, and everybody just loves that dog, and that dog has love, and that dog lives a perfectly fine life.
And it's not like the dog's suffering or he needs help all the time to like make you feel bad for it. It's just like, no, that dog's just living his life, bro.
Notably, one of the times they do a delivery, and it's a small thing, it's a bit character, it's a side piece, but like they didn't have to do it. They still thought about it. Is that they show someone in a wheelchair. That is using the Pando to help it, and like these are things they considered. And so, you know, it's just nice that more and more of that gets to show up, because like a lot of people don't get to see themselves even in small moments or small ways acknowledged like that.
I figured out through the discussion of the dog what the first scene was that I really liked, that I really laughed out loud at. It's when the dog is looking at the table and Ethan's having a conversation with her parents, and so every time it cuts to Ethan and the dog's point of view, more of the breakfast is gone, and the dog has more of it on his face. I thought that was very
that's a good gag. Good gag.
And I can't you kind of touch on it. I can't leave this without talking about how much I absolutely loved every time they went into a different art style, the different pulpy looks, the comic looks, all the different things that they did for different moments and different style choices, and the closing credits as well. Like all of it really, really beautiful, really, really nice to have. I'm glad they made those stylistic shifts where they did.
Shall I rate?
Yes. Ben, why don't you go first?
I'm going to give it a 7. Still pretty good, even though a lot of the ending saves it. Like the ending twist where it's a big giant animal, they're living on the back of this giant turtle in a world of water, that saves it. Other than that, it's still a very generic movie. I mean, beautifully animated. The creatures are absolutely stunning, and it looks good. But like Ryan, like you said, another script could have done another round or so, or the script could have done a different round, and we probably would have that score would have jumped.
So 7.
Yeah.
Sparks, all right?
Now, how about you go?
I'm kind of teetering between a 6.5 and a 7. I like it. I think it's a pretty good movie. It's missing something to get me to really like it, and it's noticeably missing it. It's not like a maybe there's it's like, no, there is something missing here that's just like, it's not jiving with me 100% like I wish it would.
Yeah.
But that said, I think the performances are good. We talked about it. We talked about the things I liked. You know, I think there's some good laugh out loud funny moments. I like the reveal a lot. 7. I'll say 7.
Yeah, I very much this whole movie, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good 7.5. Yeah, this is a pretty decent movie. Once we got to the third act, this is also, again, a movie very much catered to me. Like I like these types of movies, so like I want them to be better than they maybe even are. But I think there's a lot here. So once we got to that third act, the 7.5 became an 8. So mine's an 8.
Sparks.
I wish that the arc between Searcher and his father had been handled a bit better, but I do really like that they have the line exchange where he, you know, kind of sarcastically says, "'Cause I'm a horrible father," and he comes back with, "Yes, but you didn't have to be."
Oh, it's so good. Oh my God, it's so rough.
There are things about that arc that I think could have fed into that moment better, but the fact that it's there, I think, is really nice. I'm endeared to the performances and the ambition, so I'm gonna say for me it's an 8. I admire more of the swings they took even where they might have whiffed and not quite gotten it perfect.
Mm-hmm. All right, shall we go into our book club?
It's time to go to sleep.
This is what it looked like then.
Yeah.
Ben went to sleep. So
He was fading. He was fading.
Man, Ben, the joke I made earlier was, man, whether it's AM or PM, Ben's sleepy. That's what I said earlier.
You
All
jerks.
Sparks.
Are we wrong?
Also, Ben, it's not you jerks. I have the control. It's me. I'm the jerk. Sparks, take it away.
So what we're doing today is Little Nemo, written and illustrated by Frank Pay. And this is a 2001 tribute to the original Little Nemo comics that were in the New York Herald in 1905.
Damn, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, by Winsor McCay. And if you want an idea, just to make a note for the audience, but for you guys as well, the classic comics, they look like that first page you read. I'm sure you kind of figured that out. But that art style, how it's framed and all that, that is what the classic comics look like. Some in color, some in black and white. The earlier ones, black and white. And then I love that Nemo steps off the bed and steps into this new art style that Frank Pay has brought for him. And I think it's really cool. I, as a like summation kind of tribute to a paper comic strip, I think this is very lovely. It's telling a mildly cohesive narrative of where we pick up in dreams while still being kind of like its own just little bursts of moments. And I think that's pretty good in keeping in tone with what Winsor did with the original series to an extent. The narrative for Little Nemo in the original got bigger and bigger and grander and continuous as it went, but it still remained in this idea of Nemo is constantly going back into his dreams and picking up with some things he left off with, or sometimes starting a new adventure entirely. And I think the art is really, really pretty. I think it's a beautiful interpretation, more modern interpretation.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah,
that's my favorite
of what
one.
Winsor McCay did. I think anytime it does something like this, where it's just being very creative with the paneling, where it did the piece with the tiger that's broken up
Love
into
it.
different pieces, and you track them through their dialogue in different panels, but the overall picture stays the same, even though they are moving around the tiger. I think there's just some brilliant art choices on display here that shows just a lot of love for the work itself, and the interpretation that it's also kind of a send up to whatever amount of inspiration that Winsor McCay clearly had for Frank Pay, because he interprets Nemo as a part of Winsor McCay. And so, you know, we're seeing Winsor McCay represented in the art as well as this older version of Nemo or this separate version of him.
Even there's some
They are-
it's like Lil Windsor
Yes.
or Lil like whatever.
Yeah. This way that they are in some ways connected to each other, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you guys thought about though.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's like it's not as easy to talk about as like a narrative comic like we normally read,
For
because
sure.
it is like a bunch of comic strips with a loose story. But like this was really delightful. Like every page was beautiful. Again, like there were some continuations of like you'd read like a couple shorts about like, oh, you got to go meet the princess, and oh, we got to go do this thing, and every page is beautiful. And like I just love that it always ends with Nemo waking up and explaining why that's why the dream was the way it was. It's like, like he has a bunch of zoo animals that are different. Like, oh, it's because he's going to the zoo the next day, or a bunch of animals are staying on top of him because he's really cold. It's because he's cold when he's sleeping. So like it's a beautiful book. Again, I don't know. It's kind of hard to talk about besides just talk about the art. Yeah, this was really lovely.
So I really like the story of Gertie the dinosaur. I mentioned it a bit before. I wrote a piece on it when Disney bought Fox. I framed it through Gertie the dinosaur. Gertie the dinosaur is the first ever animated feature. It's a short thing, and it was designed for vaudeville. Yes, Sparks is showing the page. It's designed for vaudeville. It's on YouTube. It's really cool. It's this animated short where Winsor McCay is talking to the animated Gertie the dinosaur, and he's interacting with it. It's being lifted up, talking to it, interacting with it. It's very cool, crazy crazily inventive for 1914.
Yes.
I did not put together that Winsor McCay was the same Winsor McCay who wrote Little Nemo
Until here.
So that was really cool for me. I was like, oh, right, that's the guy.
Right.
This Winsor McCay will go on to do a Great Dinosaur. I like that there are some strips where it is Winsor struggling with designing Gertie the dinosaur.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool. The other thing I liked a lot was the imagination on display. With Dreams, you can basically do anything. Yeah, that's pretty
Gorilla
cool.
Frog.
Yeah, with Dreams you can basically do anything, and I really like the giant crocodiles, the water elephant, the blind book readers, where you have to be blinded to go into like this kingdom of books. I thought that was
just to highlight that, like the way that that's interpreted as like the reason he puts that into his dream narratively is because the sun was shining on his face at the moment. Yeah. And like the way that those things creep into your dreams too and form that narrative.
I think there's a lot of good imagination at play from Frank Pay is what basically just trying to say.
Right.
Yeah. It's definitely a great tribute to the original comic strips. When I was in CSUN, I was lucky enough to take a comic book class, and we actually got to see some of those older strips from the New York Herald way back from 1905. Well, at least copies and like visuals of them.
Sure.
And this definitely harkens. I mean, this definitely is a good tribute to those Little Nemo comics. Every single strip, every single piece I was reading was fantastical in its own way, shape, or form. And you're right. It was because when I first started reading this, I was like, oh, and are we going to get like a continuation or some form of like, oh, here's like a beginning, middle, and end? And it wasn't. It was just like I would open up the paper like Tuesday morning. Here's my morning paper, and then here's the latest Little Nemo comic that was printed the night before. It was definitely different, and I'm glad I read it. And also I do love how as we continue to read it, you see the correlations between what's his name, Walter McKay or
Windsor.
Windsor from Windsor and Nemo, and as it keeps going, you see how Windsor eventually would possibly create it. Like I love the last one. The very last one where he wakes up, he's talking to his mom, and his mom says, you have to get out of your dreams and join the real world. And he sees the pencil.
Yeah.
And that's when he starts drawing Slumberland. And like, and it's like his mom is all like, oh, you can't live in the dream world. But it's like, if he eventually does, he creates Slumberland. He creates this fantastic comic book or this fantastic comic strip.
Yeah.
So
I actually really like the page just before that too, where it's wordless and he's being handed the notepad and he wakes up in the dream with his hand on the mattress instead in place of the pad, and how that correlates to what he's going to create.
Mm-hmm. And I would say this is definitely a very good tribute to a major history of comics, even though we don't. When we talk about comics, we talk about, DC, Marvel, the big two, but comics started in comic strips, and we don't necessarily talk about that a whole lot.
Right.
And Little Nemo arguably is one of the very first ones to be as popular as it was.
That's a good point. When it comes to these kind of these old comic strips, like this is over 100 years old at this point.
1905.
Yeah. A lot of it gets lost to history, and that's kind of too bad. And it's really cool that there is something like Little Nemo that has its place in pop culture. Even if people don't know the comic strip it came from, they are either familiar with Little Nemo and Slumberland, or they saw the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade float about the new Slumberland movie on Netflix. That was weird. But like there is a correlation where people are familiar with Slumberland. It has withstood the test of time, even if people may not recall the original comic strips.
Yeah, I remember when I was in that class. Brandon, you took the class right after I did, and we were talking about Little Nemo and Slumberland. And the second I heard Little Nemo, I'm like, wait a minute, that was an animated VHS tape I've had since the 90s. This thing has been around since Little Nemo as a character has been around since 1900 what?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this was especially like I hadn't read this before, but I think that this was the right way for us to go about this because like I wanted us to be able to explore Little Nemo comics, but I'm like, I don't think that it's fair for us to all read and try and wring a lot of our discussion out of something that old.
Yeah.
And it has its place, but maybe not in a review format like this. But I think this was a really nice way to get like the tastes of Little Nemo and discuss it and how we like the imagination here, like you said. There's some just really wonderful bits, like the bending of the truth bit. With
I
Flip,
love that.
I think is really good.
Yeah, Flip. So
when he
like
bends the tea.
now that I've read this and I've seen the movie, like I absolutely see the it's not 1-to-1, but there is enough there where it's like, yeah, I see that. That's Flip.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like this one's very much more of like a clown with a big old belly, where it's like he's a little more mischievous. He's got just a small belly, but he's still like a big boy kind of at heart. And like he just wants to have fun. And I'm like, yeah, the through line of the spirit is in that movie.
Interestingly, like I think one of the interesting things about this tribute is that you stay out of Slumberland almost the entire time. Again, Slumberland being the kingdom that you see in that very first page with the king, the princess, and Flip is constantly referencing the princess's party. But Flip is mischievous. He is a mess. You even get a taste of it briefly in that first page when he comes crashing down to the ground just before Nemo wakes from the bed and goes into what is Frank Pay's rest of the story.
Isn't there like a one where he's like smoking, like smoking's bad, like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
He's fake smoking. He becomes paper, and so that's where all the
that's right.
That's where the whole page becomes like paper.
I only smoke the idea of cigars now. It really is much healthier.
There you go.
And then he says, ideas are all we need, my friend. And then as he's saying that, the world around them is folding up like paper onto them. And he's saying, we're just like ideas printed on paper, Nemo, nothing more. And he's like at peace receding into it.
It's like a very horrible scene from Paper Mario.
Yeah. I think all those ideas are executed very well. As Brandon mentioned, the Gertie bit earlier, you get your walking bed bit at one point. So all the like hallmarks of classic Little Nemo stuff is, I think, very lovingly recrafted in this more modern interpretation.
And it is like it's like stunning.
Yeah, I think
the art is really beautiful. Like is it watercolors? I'm guessing. Because like it's pointed.
I can't say for sure, but it sure
at certain
like
times it reminds me of like Dustin Nguyen. Like on certain pages, I'm also reading it on like a 50-inch TV, so like maybe it just looks different on a big ass TV. But I definitely, that looks a little painterly to me. Yeah, but like I even though it wasn't, it was kind of just like little like one-off stories at times. Like I always enjoyed looking at it. Like, and again, it always returns to Nemo waking up, and this is why he's having the dream is just really fun. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. I do want to talk about one last thing. It wasn't required. Did you guys happen to read the last page of just text that was after? Okay, cool.
No.
I just want to talk about it for just a moment because I thought it was very, very cool. It's called Relics of Slumberland. It's just one page. It's by Stanford W. Carpenter, who is chairman of the Black and Brown Comics Art Festival. And what he was writing about at the time is that this is the Americanized edition of this tribute. In the French version, Frank Pay had brought back a character who is called Impy. And Impy was a offensive black caricature character from the original Little Nemo comics. And what Carpenter is talking about here is the decision to not include him in the Americanized version. And I thought it was cool because what he says, I particularly like this part. When Frank Pay included Impy in the original French edition of this book, it was without malice and with the sole intention of recognizing the complete Little Nemo universe accurately. Yet, while it may be easy to dismiss Impy as a relic of a bygone era, a small part of a larger story embedded in an artifact of yellow newsprint and dried ink, the reality is that artifacts move through space and time. Artifacts preserve even as they are preserved. They inspire the creation of new things and new artifacts, and the cycle begins anew. So what he's kind of talking about there, right, is the notion of we can have those things and say where they're a test of our time, but when we are coming back to revisit a work, when we are bringing back those elements, we are reigniting that inspiration again. We are reigniting rather than leaving it to its time. We are reopening that door when we interpret new material and include those elements. Is unlocking that and saying someone else can take this in a way where it is creating that audience again that will look on this unfavorably, in a sense of like adapting it to their idea of believing in stereotypes and bad characterizations of Black people in this case, rather than just leaving it where it belongs.
Yeah, there's also something I want to read from this that I really liked. It was, so when I, an African American man, look at Impy, when I feel that itchy discomfort, that seething frustration and rage, I am reminded that as much as I like the ideas of Little Nemo, it was written by someone who is incapable of considering my dreams. And that is powerful shit. That is powerful shit. And he's right. Instead of, reincorporating Impy, changing him or whatever, like some things you don't have to touch. Something like just leave it in the past, and like, because we don't need to remember it. Yeah, that is a nice little one page.
And as he notes to his credit, Frank Pay was the one who made the decision to remove Impy for the American version, because the American market is not the same as the French market, and our issues with Blacks and how they're treated in our country are different. And the fact that Frank Pay was conscious enough to think of that, I thought was just a nice note to make. One last note about the Gertie the Dinosaurs thing that I'm really appreciative of is like it's also nice to just have it seen again here that he is also like, it's a tribute to Little Nemo, but it's also a tribute to like the influence Winsor McKay had, because even the Disney company acknowledges how Gertie the Dinosaur affected like the beginning of Mickey Mouse. That's why there is a dinosaur in Hollywood studios of Gertie. Mm-hmm. So I think all that's really lovely. If you guys had any thoughts on what I was bringing up there with Carpenter, I'm happy to indulge in that, but you don't have to.
Nope. Ben?
Yeah?
If that's all, Sparks. Did you have any more? Sorry.
No.
Ben, it is your book club next week. Do you know what it is?
Not yet.
Didn't think so. Okay. That'll do it then, guys. That's the episode. That's a wrap. Bye.
I was talking about an old song. I don't know why.
It's been years.
Yeah.
It has been years since we last played that old song.
So next week, we alluded to it a little bit up top. We're going to be talking about Avatar. We're going to talk about the 2009 film Avatar. It came out before we were a podcast, so we wanted to revisit it. So you get it next week.
We were wee little lads when that movie came out.
I haven't seen it since theaters.
Oh,
I don't think I have either.
I guess I need to be specific.
I also haven't seen it since theaters.
Original theatrical run.
That's what I meant too.
No, I know. I'm just saying I'm being specific because it had many.
True. Okay. The highest grossing film of all time still. Mag, as always, wonderful human being as they are. Catch you later, gang. Stay safe. You too, sir.
It did lose that crown. It just got it back again.
It did. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. As far as that goes, as I said, rounding out the year, but you can still find us in tons of places, such as if you like this video and you subscribe to this channel, check out all sorts of shows, such as Fake Nerds Watch. Fake Nerds Watch recently wrapped up Star Wars Andor. You will see the final episode of season 1 of Star Wars Andor. I was talking about the final 2 up probably by the time you're listening to this, actually.
10 a.m. tomorrow morning if you're watching this live.
As well, and we will be doing something Fake Nerds Watchy with Willow. Just depends on what and when. So stay tuned for that when that pops up.
Real quick again. If you have not watched Andor, I don't expect you to watch the Fake Nerds watches. But now that the show is done, give it a chance. For real. It really is one of the best things that's come out this year, but it's also one of the best things Disney's ever put out. So like you owe it to yourself to watch that TV show. That's
Agreed.
You could also check out Basement Arcade. Basement Arcade is a video game Let's Play series. We put out tons of episodes you can check out on this channel. Basement Arcade pause menu, which has a new episode in the link below, where Ben talks about a geeky video game retro convention.
Yes, you're right on all counts. You're 100% correct.
You can check out that, both audio and video. Subscribe to that if you like. You can also check out Fake Nerd Book Club and Animation Station. Both shows you can find on this channel. Perhaps Animation Station has a new episode coming soonish. Who knows? We'll see. You can also check out our Patreon and our TeePublic. If you'd like to support us financially, you can check out our Patreon and our TeePublic. Both are linked below. Cyber Monday, guys. It's Cyber Monday by the time you're listening to this or you're watching this in the rewind. Hey, it's on sale. Give us some money. Cool. You can find there's a link below, or on our website at fakenerdpodcast.com, which is also on our website, which is also in the link below. A website has a landing page for everything you can find. Check it out. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watches the live stream, and thank you to everyone who watches the rewind. We greatly appreciate all of your support. We love you guys. Thank you to Jeremy Vellucci, good friend of the show. You can check him out at Jeremy Vellucci _ the Wreck of Time. He did all the music that you've heard here tonight and all the music you hear for the shows I mentioned above. And he's got an album out. His band, Wreck of Time, has a new album out. Check it out. You can find his podcast on iTunes or Facebook at Suburban Proctologist Official or Instagram at Subproc Podcast. You can also check out our good friend Mike Matola. Mike Matola is a wonderful human being who's collaborated with us many times and hopefully many more in the future. And soon. He's also done a couple logos for us. You can find him at Mike Matola on Instagram and Twitter. I don't ever say what he does. For those of you who don't know and listening to this for the first time, he doesn't do he's not a logo designer. He writes really cool posters with like words. Check him out. Check out the collaborations we've done.
He's a brilliant artist who also does some stuff for us sometimes.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
He's a brilliant artist who decides to be nice to little old us sometimes.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Fake Nerd Podcast, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for Screen Rant, Atomic Geekdom, and KaijuRamaMedia.com. Ben?
You could find me trying to go be the very best that ever was at BenMaggot27 at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You could also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com. Like we said earlier, my brand issue 37 has my article of where I critique Cult of the Lamb. Is it going to be on my top 10 this year? Yeah. It's going to be on there. It was a great game. I had an absolute blast playing it.
An 8 out of 10 game is going to be in your top 10.
It was that fun, yes.
He doesn't play that many games.
I guess not.
Sparks?
I can be found just chatting all up about how Ben is never going to catch them all at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter. SPARKZ Witty.
It's a challenge.
And Ryan?
Hey, y'all, you could just find me aching for more pulpy adventures at DJ Tony Snark 616.
I thought you were about to say aching for a bacon.
No, I already got bacon this week. Kevin Bacon.
All right, guys. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music and Podcasts, and Pandora. Rate and review wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Until next time.
And if you, like me, think Brandon's shirt is particularly excellent, leave a comment below.
Wait, really? This?
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Is it Star
look
Trek?
good.
Is that a Star Trek shirt?
No, I just got it for my birthday.
I thought it was a casual, cool red shirt.
Yeah. You look good.
Oh, thank you.
And honestly, it reminded me of Jean-Luc Picard's uniform.
Yeah.
I thought it was a Star Trek thing, too.
Yeah.
Beam me up, Beverly. I don't know. All right. Until next time we see us, guys, stay fake nerds.